QC in the first break. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah.
And away we go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in. The Tuesday edition of the Rob Brown Show is live on the radio, on the internet, on the live stream. Anywhere you've got eyeballs and ear holes, the Rob Brown Show is available for you. Happy Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rob Brown. Directly across from me on the other side of the metaphorical glass, in charge of all the things today, he is the Alpha and the Omega of the fan upstate, the conductor of the symphony of sound that is the Rob Brown Show. He is the Sultan of swag, the professor of perfection, the wizard of wave himself. Lonzo's here as well. What is up, Zo?
I'm suddenly having a crisis here because you weren't loud enough in my headphones. So I don't know if, and I just got these headphones like last year, or if it's that been in radio, almost 26 years, hearing finally going, or is it just someone just turned the headphones down? These are all the things that I will overthink before the show actually starts.
The good news is there's little lights and levers and stuff in front of you that tell you where the correct volume is. The problem is they lie to you when I yell.
No. I mean, your levels are pristine.
Oh, it's just you don't know if you're going deaf from age or not.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I had to adjust the headphone up a little bit. And Diesel always has it up a little bit louder because he listens to double bass music. So yeah. Anything with double bass, you can't listen to it low. It's got to be really loud. Yeah. So his headphone level is always higher than mine, and well, anyway, so I may be going deaf, and I'm concerned about them. Well, not deaf, just a little bit of hearing loss.
You've done this long enough?
No, I've been noticing turning the TV up and then leaving the room and come back and going, man, that's really loud.
If it's too loud, you're too old.
Yeah, and next thing you know, you got male pattern baldness, and you want to put your pants up above your belly. Could you
wait? Stop. Before we go down there.
Yeah, the pattern I mean,
no.
Just baldness.
No.
Yeah.
Much more important conversation than that.
Oh, are we going back to the?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
This AM, before the show started, Lonzo was standing in the hallway. Rob Brown was sitting at the desk in the Fortress of Nerditude. And walking down the hallway is the host of the Terra Show, Terra Servatius, over on our sister station, soon not to be 106.3 WORD, as it's switching frequencies. But nonetheless, Tara's walking down the hall, and she says something to Lonzo.
No, I actually initiated it because I heard her talking about a story, and I just wanted to point out that I don't have one of those.
Tara brought up on her show a study she found, and I'm going to find the study. I didn't have time to find it because this happened minutes before we came on the air. But she cited a study that said people with mullets, the haircut, not the fish, have more fun. And then she suggested, ever so kindly to the great one, that he has more than enough flow, that he's got plenty of lettuce, that should he elect to do so, not only could he pull off a mullet, but he could theoretically pull off the most spectacular mullet in the upstate. A statement with which I completely agree, and suggest that Lonzo does indeed do this. Because the mullet that Lonzo would pull off would be nothing shy of immaculate, ladies and gentlemen.
I could, if I wanted to, I could produce some pictures of me having a mullet when I moved here almost 26 years ago.
I would like to point out that I don't particularly care if you want to. I need you to. I need to see that. Doesn't necessarily have to be shown for public consumption. It can be like the pictures in the Murdoch trial, not for television, just for the jury.
Listen, if you rock a mullet, you're not embarrassed of it because, you're saying, hey, look at me when you rock a mullet. So
correct.
I came here with a mullet, and no, I didn't get a mullet so I would fit in when I got here. I was working at an auto parts warehouse, so I got a mullet to fit in there. Because the chances are, if you work at an auto parts warehouse, there's at least 10 dudes there with mullets.
I will go so far as to say that I'm really not overly concerned about whether Alonzo wants to or does not want to show the mullet pictures, I now don't know that I can carry on with my life without seeing them.
All right, picture Dom Mysterio without the time, without doing time. It's not the.
I don't know if you know this. You don't look anything like Dominic Mysterio.
No, but his mullet.
Cool, but I still need the Lonzo of it, right?
All right, well.
That's like if you tell me you have a Ferrari and then you're like, picture a Ferrari. No, I want to see your Ferrari.
So it may
have the Ferrari of haircuts.
It may actually be Polaroids at this point. So I would have to go home and scan them because yes, I do have a scanner.
Bring them to work.
Well, no, if I'm going to share, I share with everyone.
Fair enough.
I mean,
respect that.
We've talked about many things on this show that I probably shouldn't have talked about. Why not go with the mullet?
Now, that leads me to the next question, ladies and gentlemen, because it is currently March 7th, 2023. We are a tick away from what we will officially deem as spring. And my question is, do we run it back? Last year, broadcasting from home, if I recall at this point last year, but last year, we asked the question, nope, scratch that.
No,
we set you all on a mission.
You were here. You're thinking 2 years ago.
Oh, was it 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Well, we did it last year.
No, we did it last year, but
okay.
You were in studio.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we did it last year.
COVID was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yes.
My goodness, time flies when you're going through a worldwide pandemic. Okay, so here's my question. Last year, we initiated the Great Mullet Hunt of 2022. Last year, we sent you all on a mission should you choose to accept it, and you did. And by the way, accomplished your mission with flying colors. Last year in the spring, we sent you on the Great Mullet Hunt of 2022. And we asked you guys to gather in their natural habitat the greatest mullets of the upstate. And you guys did a spectacular job. Lonzo and I perused through photographs sent to us over about a 3.5 week period of mullets from around the upstate, and some of them were beyond magnificent.
I just want to say, I mean, it's not like those guys who say, well, you can't talk about football because you didn't play football. I've had a few mullets in my time, so I real recognizes real. That's all I'm saying.
Lonzo is the mullet commander-in-chief, and at the end of the Great Mullet Hunt of 2022, we awarded points per mullet. There was a 10-point scale in multiple categories. And I got to go look up the notes on how I did it so we can stay consistent. But the categories were flow, that is the magnificence of the mullet, the overall magnificence of the mullet. Natural environment, where you caught the mullet, right? If you caught the mullet sitting on the front of a 1983 Trans Am, you got extra points in that department. If you caught the mullet shopping at the mall, hey, you look like it's a 5-point mullet there. If you caught the mullet just standing around on a street corner, maybe a couple of points there. But the natural environment of the mullet got you 5 points. And then we gave you a bonus 2 points if you were able to catch the mullet as a selfie. If you were in the picture with the mullet, you got bonus points. We awarded points to you, the listener, as the mullet hunt went on. And as the mullet hunt went on, some of you separated yourself from the pack. 3 or 4 of you were the most voracious of mullet hunters across the upstate. We awarded a prize pack of a t-shirt and a hat to one lucky listener whose, I'm sorry to say, name I have forgotten because it was 12 and a half months ago. But we awarded a t-shirt and hat prize pack to the best mullet hunter in the upstate. My question is, do we run that back this year? Do we bring back the Rob Brown Show Mullet Hunt 2023, the return of the mullet, and do the same thing this year? How many of you will go mullet hunting if we do it? Right? Because if it's just going to be like 2 or 3 people that do it, then I don't know if I'm going to be, if it's going to go over as well, right? I need participation. So if I bring back the Rob Brown Show Great Mullet Hunt of 2023, what do we call it? The Revenge of the Mullet, the Mullet Strikes Back, Return of the Mullet, Mullet 2, Electric Boogaloo. What do we call it if we bring it back, A? And B, do you guys want it to? Would you guys have it coming back? Would you guys participate in the great mullet hunt of 2023? The mullet strikes back. We'll figure that out. If we do it, we'll do it in May. So you got a little over a month and a half to think about it. Now, the mullets must be caught within the month of May. You cannot start catching them now. The mullets are only able to be caught in May. They must be in their natural habitat. That is to say, you can't call up your buddy that has a mullet. You must take a candid photo of it. And you must have a way of proving that the mullet is recent, real, and caught in its natural environment.
I mean, how do you do that? I mean, with Photoshop, you can timestamp, you can do a lot of things. So I mean, how do you prove it?
I suspect there's a gentleman, fingers crossed, suspect there's a gentleman down the hall who believes in the virtues of American greatness. Captain America, Chris Evans down the hall, who might be able to give me a crash course into looking into the metadata of transmitted photographs to discover exactly when and where they're from. I'm not saying I don't trust you guys enough to where I won't have to go into that. I'm just saying if I feel like somebody is trying to overplay the game, we may do some CSI forensic analysis on your photos to determine the validity of your mullet.
This is just me, and he can cancel this. But if you're going to fake a photo, make it so obvious that there's no, so we could at least enjoy it. Now it may not be eligible, but we can have fun with it.
True. All right, so we will. We've got a month and 23 days to discuss the parameters, rules, and regulations of the great mullet hunt of 2023, Mullet Hunt 2, the Mullet Strikes Back. We'll come up with a better name for it.
I'm trying to go through my photos to see if I can find any
I really
mullets.
hope you do.
And I take a lot of selfies. I just
All right, ladies and gentlemen, busy day on the radio broadcast today. Lots of stuff we need to get into. Coming up at around 10:40, the voice of the Furman Paladins, Dan Scott, will join us on the show. Why, you might ask? Because F you one time, F you two times, F you three times, F you all the times. The Dins are going dancing for the first time since before I was born. Furman wins the SoCo and will be dancing into March Madness. So Dan Scott will join us both to break down last night's win in the Southern. They should have had it last year. But Chat hit the heartbreaking dagger at the buzzer to take a SoCon title away from the Dins last year. This year, revenge of the Dins. Lots of revenge today. Revenge of the Dins. They won the Southern Conference last night in the SoCon tournament finals, and Furman is going dancing. The blue suede shoe. Well, I should say purple suede shoes are on. By the way, I gotta give Dan Scott a lot of credit for his walk-off line last night. Lonzo, after X amount of years, purple reigns.
Well done. Well done.
That's brilliant from Dan Scott.
But that's the kind of excellence that we expect from him.
Demand from him. And he provides every time. Dan Scott will join us here in about an hour and a half. We will talk about Furman going dancing into March and what it might look for Furman to get a couple of wins under their belt in March Madness. We'll have that coming up for you later on. That's going to be about 10:40 this morning. Coming up at 10 o'clock. Lonzo and I are both nerds. We admit it openly. Heck, we revel in the fact that we are both nerds. The office is the fortress of nerditude for a reason. There's no shame in our collective game.
By the way, when I took our guests into the office, I had them guess whose side was whose.
I feel like that's easy.
No, it wasn't.
Really?
They picked the wrong side.
Really?
Yes. So I just do that to bolster you. Because to let you know that your nerdum is for some reason, considered higher than mine.
I don't know if I go that far. What guests are you talking about? Are the Clemson kids?
No. Gotcha. Our shadows from Friday.
Yeah. So the fortress of nerditude exists. We are both nerds.
Are you offended that they thought that
I'm not offended. I'm surprised
that you were on the anime side?
I'm not offended. I'm surprised, and here's why.
I think it might be an age thing.
I'll tell you what. Later on, after the show is over, we might go live again. We'll give you guys a tour of the Fortress of Nerditude because we never really we've given you behind the scene looks at everything in this building. I don't think we've ever done it from the office.
Yeah, I've picked everything up after Chris knocked all my stuff
He
over
really did.
yesterday.
He went ham on your desk the other day.
Yes, it was the domino theory.
So in the Fortress of Nerditude, which is split right down the middle, my side has a lot of nerd stuff, but it's also got a lot of sports stuff. I've got like 8 soccer scarves hanging from the wall right next to the Captain America shield, right? I got Deion Sanders, Ken Griffey Jr., and Archie Manning autographs hanging. And I thought that the excessive sports stuff matched up with the nerd stuff would clue them in. But I guess not. And that's fine. I'll take it.
It does accentuate because you get a little bit on both sides. I do have like a Panther sign on my side. So, but mine has been accumulated over a lot of time.
Correct.
So
the reason I bring that up is Rob Brown's a big Jeopardy guy. Always has been, right? Love Jeopardy. Always have been. There was on, I don't know if it was last Friday or yesterday on Jeopardy, there was a sports section, a sports category where Mian Bialik was basically, as you opened up a clue, giving you 3 to 4 terms used in a sport, and you had to tell her what sport it was. The 3 contestants got 0 of them correct.
You could usually look at the guys and girls up there on the panel, I mean, for Jeopardy and go, there's no way. There's no way. And the sad part is, or the funny part really, is the writers probably are trolling them by throwing in sports questions and probably laughing their butts off in the back. Because I know I would.
Probably.
Not only that, I'd have a wrestling category in there. I would throw some stuff in there to, but the best part about it is there may be one person that actually gets one right. And,
there was no one who got any of them right. 5 sports questions, 0 for 5. So we are going to put your knowledge to the test and see how many of the 5 Jeopardy sports questions you would have gotten right. Get your pens and pads ready because we will be keeping score. That comes up at 10 o'clock on the dot. Dan Scott at 10:30. But when we come back here in just a minute, Rich Eisen got himself on the big-time social media flow yesterday. How? Because Rich Eisen ran down the top 5 items of gossip at the NFL Combine last weekend. I'm going to give you 3 of them, including one that is going to make the great one ever so happy to hear. We will play those for you and chat about them when we come back. Rob, Lonzo, you. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Fan Upstate. Got to do a live ride. Don't goes anywhere. Those weren't words. Doing a live. Be right back.
Well, they were words. I mean, a producer handed John the thing, and he just read it and thought it was and wasn't looking at it. There's no way that's Connor, but that's actually him.
I saw the clip.
I guess that's him dressed up in the role because they filmed some actual stuff for the movie.
They did.
There.
So they had Gyllenhaal and whoever the other guy is doing a weigh-in.
Oh yeah, that was great. Yeah, that was great.
And then I saw a clip of them filming one of Gyllenhaal's actual MMA fight scenes. The problem with it is I now know the plot of the movie,
but you don't.
100% I do.
It's Roadhouse.
Right.
It's a remake of Roadhouse.
Right, which is going to be Gyllenhaal's in the UFC.
Right. And then
he was going after the ref, pulled him. He threw the ref off and went after the dude again, which means he's going to get booted from the UFC, have to find a new gig, and he's going to get hired to be the bouncer for Roadhouse.
I got to say.
Which, by the way, I'm all in for.
Well, Roadhouse is one of my favorite movies.
100%.
It's one of those ones I don't think should have been redone, but this is totally different. Yeah. So, I mean.
If you're going to do it different. Do it different and try to do it better. It's not that you will.
Well, they screwed Point Break
Sam
up by
Elliott,
doing it. Well, I mean, yeah. Sam Elliott.
You can't make any movie with Sam Elliott in it better. It can't be done. Now, question is, do we get a Sam Elliott cameo in Roadhouse?
I hope so.
I do too. Even though he's dead in Roadhouse.
I mean, come on. Well, that's true. I forget about that.
Rich Eisen of the Rich Eisen podcast, who, by the way, is Rich Eisen just impossible to dislike?
Yeah, even though he's from Michigan. And Root's from Michigan. Yes, I've always liked Rich Eisen.
Rich Eisen is almost impossible to dislike.
I was really worried when he went over to the NFL Network. It's like, man, is this the right career choice? But it was a perfect career choice.
He's done great.
He has.
Rich Eisen has, in my opinion, always been a likable dude. And he continues to be great. His podcast, there's a lot of guys that do podcasts that are popular, and I'm like, I don't have time. Rich Eisen's podcast is good because Rich is just a dude that loves being where he is and doing what he does, and it translates, right? I think I can tell, and maybe it's just because I'm behind the scenes, I don't know, but I feel like I can genuinely tell when a dude loves broadcasting versus a dude who's just a broadcaster, right? And I think Rich loves his job. I love my job. I hope that shines through more often than it doesn't. Rich has become an institution at the NFL Combine, whether it's running the 40 time, getting some crazy guest on his pod, whatever it might be. Rich has become an absolute icon at the Combine. And one of the things that is a result of that is that people feel comfortable with Rich and they talk to Rich. And so Rich almost always comes back from the Combine with some thoughts on rumors, behind the scenes stuff, conversations that are taking place behind the scenes at the NFL Combine. And he did so again. Yesterday on the Rich Eisen pod, he dropped 5 little nuggets of conversations taking place behind the scenes at the NFL Combine. I'm going to give you 4 of them, but I got to bat lead off with one in particular.
I was going to say there are only 4 up here, and do you see me looking at the screen like, wait a minute, why is there? Are we missing one?
I'm going to give you 4 because one of them was kind of a throwaway. I'm going to give you 4, but I'm going to start with one that, Lonzo, I'm going to make a request of you here. I want you to leave your mic on and give people your genuine knee-jerk reaction to it because I think that this is going to thrill you. There's a lot of conversation going on about quarterbacks in the NFL. Lamar Jackson, and we're going to hear about Lamar in a second from Rich Eisen's rumor. Ozzie Newsome came out. He's an EVP for the Ravens and said, look, we're going to get a deal done. And if we don't, he's getting tagged by 4 o'clock today. Today, the franchise tag deadline. Now, whether or not they make it an exclusive tag or not, we'll find out. But we are going to hear about that in a minute. Of course, yesterday, Derek Carr signed with the New Orleans Saints. That deal is done. Means Andy Dalton is out there. Means Jameis Winston is back out there as a cap casualty in New Orleans. We are obviously waiting to see if anybody wants to roll the dice on Carson Wentz. Matt Ryan is a guy we haven't talked about. He's out there as well. So with all the rumors swirling about quarterbacks in the NFL, Rich Eisen dropped one that I think is going to make Lonzo very happy. Here is Rich Eisman's biggest smoke from the combine rumors yesterday.
All right, so to be honest, and I have to be honest because normally,
You lie?
no. Well, see, don't you think that when someone says to be honest?
I have tried to drop that from my vernacular for that
because that implies every other time I've talked to you, I'm not telling the truth. But in radio terms, I could play it off like I didn't know this, but I watched it yesterday. And so I could feign the anger, the ire.
Fine, then give me your knee-jerk reaction from yesterday.
I wasn't the only one in the room.
Even better.
Yes.
Who were you with?
My wife.
And she said, I care more about Miss Lisa's thoughts on this than yours.
She's like, you got to be kidding me. Can't this guy just go away? So you talk about how popular his podcast and stuff is. Yep. I watched it on YouTube yesterday. And, I could pretend, but it has to do with Tom Brady. I'm never going to pretend when it comes to Tom Brady. No, I was unhappy with the announcement, but I don't believe it. I think he's gone this time for sure. I really think he's gone this time. I think 6 months from now, when he's in the booth, he's going to have red eyes because the drinking's going to catch up with him. They're not going to show him from the chest down because the beer belly's finally going to come out. Then suddenly you're going to find out that he's eating bread. And, he's going to be too big for the booth, not because of his ego, but because of overeating and all that kind of stuff. So he's done. He is done. Skeletor is finally gone from the NFL.
I am
and I apologize to Rob because I could have played it off with anybody else. I would have done it, but it's Tom Brady and I can't stand Tom Brady. So why would no.
So Rich Eisen says on his pod yesterday that there are multiple.
He said it with a smirk though, but he says just about everything with a smirk.
Yeah, but so. I think you've got to some degree understand that those of us that are not Brady haters, and I honestly think we're in the minority, right? I think more people dislike him than don't. But for those of us that are not in the Brady hate club, there is some degree, and I think you can sympathize this as a self-described master troll, Lonzo. There is some enjoyment at the discomfort and, I don't know, just general contempt for the thought that Brady has once again toyed with the emotions of the Brady Hater Club and would make a return if the situation was correct. And you heard Rich there, Miami, which, by the way, would make sense. Remember, Miami was the
Let me go double troll here. So why would he go to Miami when they have the most accurate quarterback in the NFL? Why would they have to bring in Tom Brady when that one dude that used to play with the Chiefs went to Miami to play with the most accurate quarterback in the NFL? Why would they have to bring in some old guy when they got the most accurate quarterback in the NFL right there in Miami?
Because there is a growing fear that Tua Tagovailoa may never be the same after the multiple concussions in a year last year.
Yeah, they're the all jokes aside, man. When you start getting multiple
scary.
concussions, I mean, we've seen other guys like Troy Aikman say, "I'm done,"
Yeah.
and some other, and you know, Steve Young. I mean, there are guys who really have been messed up,
Yeah.
and so if he has to leave, he has to leave.
Yeah, and I think, forget all the jokes about Brady aside, if Tua's long-term mental health is at risk, yes, call it a career, young man. There is no shame in that at all.
Yeah, it'd be better to have some coherence and be able to live the rest of your life. Yeah, you don't.
Yeah,
you don't mess with that.
No point in making tens of millions of dollars if your brain is mush and you can't enjoy it.
All right, Hudson on the stream. By the way, you can see us live on stream at Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, which I don't think we mentioned. Hudson says, and they're contenders now. So what he's saying is they're contenders now, but you put Brady on that team, you know what you get? The same thing you got this year, because Brady's done. He's done.
You're telling me that Brady can't improve a Tua Tagovailoa, whose brain was rattled around in his skull. You're telling me that Brady doesn't improve on Teddy Bridgewater or a dude named Skyler, who I'll bet you $10 right now you can't tell me his last name.
Diggins. No, she plays in the WNBA. No, my Siri came on and it's still listening.
Yeah, because she's telling Tom Brady all the things you're saying.
So I'm holding my phone up,
transmitting directly to Brady's helmet,
because it still hasn't stopped. It's still I don't know what's happening here. I mean, I can make it stop, but I'm interested when it decides to stop, what's actually going to pop up on my phone.
Tom Brady's records. Watch. So we'll find out. I'm curious.
Record, yeah, okay.
I'm curious as well. Here's what it comes down to. Miami was the initial destination for Tom Brady when they got hit with the tampering charges, and that pretty much put the kibosh on that. Then, of course, you had the Flores lawsuit, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, what is it saying?
It said 1 sec, so we'll see.
Well, yeah, it just transcribed 10 minutes of conversation. She's not going to know. So you gave her too much.
Oh, well, she's processing. I mean,
something went wrong. Please try again.
Like Tua's season. So Brady to Miami was the initial destination the last time around. It got hung up because of the tampering charges and the Brian Flores lawsuit, which is still in play and active right now. And then he ended up going to Tampa because New Orleans really didn't have the room for him, although he wanted to play with Peyton. And I think the other aspect of it was the reason that Florida teams are able to get so many great players. No state income tax in Florida, and Brady knew he was in for a fat paycheck.
I will say that matters a lot to low-income people. Think of what it matters to the large-income people.
Absolutely, especially considering that state income tax bracket goes up when you're in the Tom Brady range versus the Rob Brown range, which only a handful of dollars of difference.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not much.
Yeah. So Tom Brady to Miami actually makes sense. Brady waiting to see what the next step in the development of the career of Tua Tagovailoa makes sense, right? If Tua just can't do it, then Brady's right there waiting, and it's not going to cost them an arm and a leg to get there. Tampa's downsizing right now. They cut Leonard Fournette, right? They're trying to move money off the books, and Brady would be a big chunk of it if he doesn't want to be there, which clearly he doesn't. So, I'm not always, if there's smoke, there's fire kind of guy, but I also don't think Rich Eisen is a hot take machine.
Do you believe this is going to happen? Because I really, really believe he's gone this time.
I believe there is a possibility. I would say like 35, 65 odds he comes back.
Here's the reason why he comes back, because he might be intimidated by Greg Olson. He might be seeing the success that Greg Olsen has had,
No chance.
and people are saying that Tom Brady's going to take Greg Olsen's spot, and he may be thinking, you know what, I can't be as good as him because he can't, and decide, I'll just wait and I'll go back to the NFL.
A couple of things. Number one, you don't know that he can't. You've never heard him do it.
Oh, he can't.
You don't know that.
He's not.
You don't know that.
He's not going to be better than
Everybody
Olsen.
probably said that about Romo too. And for a couple of years there, Romo was king. Not anymore because he gave up.
Putting my disdain aside, which is really difficult with some people. No way Brady talks better than Olsen.
You don't know. I'm not saying he does. I'm saying you can't know that. There's no way to know. You don't have any evidence.
I mean,
of it.
Here's the thing. It would have to, if he comes in with a different style, if he comes in being the smart aleck that he is, which there's nothing wrong with that. If he comes in and does that sort of thing, I think it works. If he comes in and tries to be like Greg Olsen, no way.
We'll find out. Because the other aspect of this conversation
Or
is,
will we?
Maybe not. Not if he goes back to Miami.
Exactly, because he's scared.
Remember, Fox offered him like a, 6-year, $300 million contract to come work for them. That's a lot of dinero. So the question would be, if Tom Brady goes to Miami and puts that Fox contract off one more season, because remember, that contract, he was not expected to start on that contract until next season. Not this year, but next year, meaning he could theoretically play this year in Miami, then retire and be a broadcaster without missing a beat. So the question is, does he miss football?
This is a message for Tommy Boy, because I know you listen. You don't want any of Greg Olsen. Stay away from the booth. You don't want any. Go back to the NFL, Go back there where it's easy. You don't want any part of Greg Olsen.
We will find out. Now, let me get to a couple of other clips from the Rich Eisen pod yesterday. The next big thing we are waiting to fall is Aaron Rodgers. Clip 2A, if you don't mind here, Lonzo. Rich Eisen said he had multiple discussions with people that were directly connected to the Green Bay Packers as we wait for the decision of when Aaron Rodgers, likely the next biggest domino to fall. Here's what Rich said was going on. Two things. Number one, can I tell you how much appreciation I have for the background music that Rich picked?
Which is one of the reasons why you can't hear it on the stream, by the way. It is a good pick. I also want to say, out of all the things he revealed, I thought this was the most impactful.
So do I. So do I. Because Brady coming back, let's be real. If Brady comes back, it has an impact on one team, the Miami Dolphins, right? That's it. That's the impact it has.
Yeah, it's not going to impact the rest of the NFL because they're not going to win because he's done.
Whatever. The only team it impacts directly is the Miami Dolphins and maybe the AFC East as a whole. Maybe it impacts the Jets a little bit because they're looking for a quarterback. But I think this news impacts the Jets in the AFC East and really the AFC as a whole more than any other news does, because the Jets have kind of been in a spot where they've been holding out for Aaron Rodgers, or at least it feels like it. And by the way, so have the Carolina Panthers. Now, the Panthers have had reports coming out that they plan on very aggressively pursuing the number one pick in the overall draft in the Chicago Bears. That part, genuinely, I'm assuming, makes Lonzo happy. We'll circle back to that.
I perked up.
I thought so. But Aaron Rodgers is the next domino to fall. Why? Because there's a lot of teams that consider themselves interested. For instance, if the Carolina Panthers truly are interested in Aaron Rodgers, and they were willing to go hard in the paint for A-Rod of the football persuasion, it throws all of the market value for Chicago and Arizona's and Indianapolis and Seattle and Las Vegas and Detroit and Atlanta. It throws the market into chaos there, because now the one team that I truly think kind of determines what the market value is there, the Carolina Panthers at 9, they'd be set, right? They'd be set if they go Aaron Rodgers. But doesn't mean they have to, because as we pointed out, you're looking for the QB of the future. Aaron Rodgers is going to be closer to 40 than 30 when the season starts. Is he a long-term option, or is he a 1 or 2 year rental before he hits Brady territory and he's playing out the end of his contract? I don't know. We'll come back here in just a minute. We'll figure out that discussion. And Rich Eisen had a couple of thoughts on Lamar as well. I'll give you all that and more to wrap up hour number 1. Sports Jeopardy at 10, Dan Scott at 10:40. A lot of your calls and text wrap in the middle on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
My disdain is not for Tom Brady's play on the field, even though he is a system quarterback and works well within the system. Not the best quarterback of all time. It's for all the lying and cheating. I don't know if there's any stealing in there, but you know.
Do you see Patrick's brother Jackson is in trouble now?
That dude's always in trouble.
Here's my thing.
You don't want to.
At some point, if you're Patrick Mahomes, don't you tell him, if I see you in the public again, you are cut off, dog. You're done. You get no more of that sweet, sweet Mahomes money. You're on your own, partner.
It's not like the Ball brothers. It seems to be only one talented person.
Correct.
Smith and James at 222 Trade Street in Greer, or at their new location on Burger Boulevard in Greenville, and visit them online at smithandjames.com.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language. Like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get pronunciation.
Someone just yelled at me down the hallway, and I couldn't respond.
Why?
I just pointed at a door. And they understood. I started to. I even went, and then I was like, nope, not going to do that. Yeah, but it's not Magic anymore, Steven. Or it won't be. Magic will be 106.3, and Word will be 98.9. Talk of the Carolinas.
They did it
Yes.
to give Lonzo a bigger audience.
Well, yeah. Like, how can we make the Upstate Pulse bigger? Let's give it a bigger signal. Can't wait to bring in the furry audience in Asheville. So looking forward to that. Man, that is delayed. I just saw myself walk past the camera, and now I just sit down. One of the most difficult things for some in radio was keeping a secret. When everyone knows. let's label this first chapter Mullet Hunt 2023. And I hope someone at corporate goes, what?
At Staples, school is always in session, and savings never take a holiday, especially now during Staples Teacher Palooza. You save big on everything for school, like 25% on classroom decor and stickers, up to 40% on brands like Post-it, Papermate, and Elmer's, plus 2 ounce.
By the way, Saturday, Cameron will not be on the show. So,
Well, I will be there.
okay. I'll have contingencies just in case.
Okay.
Because I got to make sure that I have 4.
All right, let's run through 1 or 2 last clips from Eisen's pod yesterday. Let me start with clip 2B, if you don't mind. What does it come down to for Chicago? Eisen says he doesn't know, but they're already well down the road of trading the number 1 overall pick. I just said that, Rich. Oh, I forgot to cut off number 3 on the list. Either way, it doesn't matter. Chicago's well on the road of trading the number 1 overall pick. And at the same time that Rich is saying that on his pod, we get yet another report out of the combine that the Panthers have decided to be uber aggressive in pursuit of their guy. Now, here's the interesting thing about that. We don't know who their guy is. We knew they were in on Carr. They were the first team to schedule a second interview with Derek Carr, though New Orleans ended up being the front runner. The interesting thing here is the Panthers are thought to be uber aggressive in getting their guy, but that could be trading to 1 or 3, right? Because the question is, who is their guy? Now,
Well, they don't want to give that up.
correct, and they're not going to, which means that we're not going to know until we know. If they trade to 1 with Chicago, it means either Stroud or Young was their guy. If they're happy to go to number 3, it means that Richardson or Levis is their guy. You ready for my conspiracy theory of the day? Grab your tinfoil caps. I've got another vet quarterback for the Panthers to plug in and a rookie to get. I told you yesterday. I told you yesterday to keep an eye out on the return of Sam Darnold. But today, the tides have turned. The chemtrails are in the air. E.T. has phoned home. The correct move for the Panthers. Draft Anthony Richardson at 3 and bring in Jameis Winston. Think about it. Winston, a 30-touchdown-a-season guy, even though he was 1-to-1 with INTs in the same year, 30-touchdown guy in his last season with Tampa, ends up going over to New Orleans. Has a pretty good start for the Saints, suffers an injury and a setback, loses his job to Andy Dalton. But as a New Orleans fan, I can tell you, the reason he lost his job was not just because of the injury. The reason he lost his job is because Dennis Allen just didn't like him. That's the hot smoke coming out of New Orleans, including talking to a couple of guys that I've done work with out of WWL 870 AM, the flagship station of the Saints in New Orleans. Dennis never wanted Jameis. He was a holdover from Sean Payton, and there was just too much money on the books to move him out. That's why he never got a crack at the starting job. despite the fact that Andy Dalton was, frankly, mediocre. Jameis with one more crack at the starting lineup. And by the way, of all the vet quarterbacks, who plays the most Anthony Richardson-esque football? That would give him some time to learn the game, some time to learn the speed, and would do so in a way that Carolina could already have the system in place when AR is ready to step into that role. More than Sam Darnold, more than Carson Wentz, more than Baker Mayfield, more than anybody else, that guy is Jameis Winston, a guy who still has not gotten a true crack at redemption since he left Tampa Bay, despite his time in New Orleans. We'll talk more about that conspiracy theory in the next hour, but coming up next, Sports Jeopardy. The contestants went 0 for 5. How well can you do? We'll find out next on The Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Instead of going like they did 1,800, 642, we're actually going to go from the bottom up. So 200, 400.
All right. So I went through and I arranged them the way you said.
Okay, never mind. Leave it.
No, you just tell me which one to go to.
Okay.
I mean, that's probably
Then
the
we'll go
best
2, 4,
way.
6, 8, 1,000. Because they get progressively harder.
Are they? Well, yeah. I mean, but are they labeled?
We can leave them that
How
way.
are they labeled? Is all I'm saying.
4,000, 4,800, 4,600, 4,400, 4,200.
No. Well,
the track titles have the value within them.
okay. All right. 200, 400, 600, 800. Okay. All right.
1,000.
Yeah, I see that.
Okay.
So, I'm not going to rearrange them. I can go from the bottom up. I got them skills, yo. We'll see if I do or not. I'm really interested in this because I did not listen to it. I did not watch it. I have no idea. And I hope I can at least do better than those guys did. Oh, they've moved this onto the radio?
Hudson says, I really don't hate that, Rob. That's a solid 1-2 punch. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I know it is. Water.
Well, I'm with you there, Trey, but, you know, business decisions happen. And James, as far as that whole thing, yeah, you just don't know. Because radio used to be more so the theater of the mind than it is now because of digital capabilities and like me, for instance, I'm on here 6 days a week and Rob's on here 5 days a week. So it's a little more difficult to go theater of the mind for us.
Unless we're playing Dungeons and Dragons.
It's not impossible, though. It is all the work, James. And what's double is our work is a work. So when we're at work, it's a work. It's very, very deep and convoluted. All right, I get it, phone. I get it. You want to update, but you're not doing it till later. Leave me alone. It's almost as bad as your computer needs to be updated. Stop it, Steven. I'm gonna.
Ray D and Dio. It's so good. It's so good, Lonzo. You don't have to like it, but that's the greatest name it could possibly be is Ray D and Dio.
By the way, if you want to watch Radio D&D,
Ray D and Dio.
you can do that this Saturday night, right around 9:30.
Plus, it's got a built-in potential theme song. Ray D and Dio theme song Dio. How is this anything but brilliant marketing from yours truly?
I thought you were going to go with Radio Gaga there, and I was going to see how you were going to make that work. No, it's not, Hudson. No, it's not. Don't feed that machine. It is not. It's horrible.
It is really good, Hudson. You're correct.
Hey, I'm not going to fight with you guys. You like what you like. What you like is wrong, though. Worst thing in the world could happen would be like we get picked up by something, like a sponsor or something, and that becomes a real thing.
Ray D and Dio.
No.
It's going to be so good.
So if you're a sponsor looking to sponsor our D&D broadcast,
Our Ray D and Dio.
don't.
All right, our numero dos of the Rob Brown Show goes right now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rob Brown, the great Lonzo on the other side of the metaphorical glass. This AM in charge of all of the incredible sounds hitting you smack dab in the ear holes right now. You want to be a part of the show? Now is your opportunity. 844-326-3663. 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. You can text us at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N. We will read them on the air. And, of course, watch the live stream at Facebook.com/TheFanUpstate, Twitter.com/TheFanUpstate. You can go to YouTube and search and subscribe to The Fan Upstate, or go to Twitch and find at The Rob Brown Show. You can watch the stream live there. Here's my question, though. We're about to play a little game. No prizes to be given out here. Mainly because I don't have the key to the prize closet, or else you'd all get a shirt.
It's almost time to play the game.
Time to play the game. Oh.
Yeah, you sounded a little bit too much like Macho Man there.
Yeah. Here's my question, though. Do we want to invite a listener on to play alongside us?
No.
All right, never mind. Forget you, listeners, says the great one. You don't deserve a place on the show, says Lonzo.
Feel free to play along on the text line, 71307, or on the stream.
Text your answers in.
Listen, you can call if you want. I was just
No.
kidding. I was just
Lonzo
kidding.
said no. Great one said no.
I
Here's
just wanted to see the look on his face after the conversation that we had on the stream. I just needed some payback. That's all.
This Brady thing's really got to him. Here's what we're going to do. I don't know if it was on Friday's show or Monday's show because I didn't watch, but on a recent episode of Jeopardy, hosted by Mayim Bialik.
I got to admit, I haven't watched since Alex.
I have not watched nearly as much. And the episodes I have watched have all been Ken hosting. I got to tell you, I love Mayim Bialik, but she's not my pick for host. Honestly, Ken and Aaron were the best two, hands down. Anyway, she was hosting, and they had a category about sports. And the game worked this way. The game worked where Mayim Bialik would give you 3 or 4 terms used within a sport. And all you had to do was tell her what sport those terms come from. The 3 contestants on Jeopardy that day went a combined 0 for 5 on naming the correct sport.
It wasn't college week, was it?
No.
Okay.
It was not. A combined 0 for 5 in naming the sport based on terms used within that sport. So I would like to play for you the 5 questions and see how many you can get correct. Now, on the show, the contestants started with it's in the sport or whatever the category was called for 1,000 and worked their way down. We're going to go in reverse order. We're going to start with 200 and work our way up to 1,000 because obviously it's Jeopardy. They increase in difficulty as you go up. So let us start, Lonzo, with Sports Jeopardy for 200Q. This is the question. The opening, well, it's Jeopardy. Answer is the question. This was the first set of terms given out. See if you can name the sport. Question number 1. Inherited runners, appeal play, and pickoff. Lonzo, on behalf of the listening audience, the Rob Brown Armada, what sport is Mayim Bialik giving us there?
Baseball?
Let's find out. Here is the answer. Yes, they did, random contestant. Yes, they did. Now, I would have played that one last because of the quit, but I wanted to make it more difficult. So Lonzo goes 1 for 1. The game is baseball. Let's move on to Sports Jeopardy for 400. Here's your question. You can play it again if you need to, because I forgot what the 4 words were because all I focused on was the last one, shank.
Yeah, it's golf.
All right.
Yeah. The other one's kind of, because I'm not a big,
Yeah.
I've golfed before, but the shank, that got me.
All right. Texter says, what is golf? Let's find out if he and Alonzo are correct. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Both of my answers would be incorrect because I didn't phrase them as
It's
questions.
fine. This is not
so.
Jeopardy. This
Okay,
is the
all
Ron
right.
Brown Show. We don't play by the rules. So we got one texter playing. He's got what is baseball and what is golf, 2 for 2, as is the great one. Now, a little bit more difficult. Let's go to Sports Jeopardy for 600. Here is your question. Eight count, accidental butt, and cut man for the accidental butt. Lonzo, do we have a guess?
So the accidental butt threw me off a little bit because I'm thinking, how can your butt be accidental? It maybe wardrobe malfunction. I don't know, but yeah, I'm gonna go boxing.
Lonzo says boxing. Anybody want to contribute on the text line? I'll give you 3, 2, 1. Lonzo says, what is boxing? As does our texter who's playing the game. Lonzo, let's find out if you're correct. Ding, ding, ding. The great one is 3 for 3. Now we move on. He got baseball.
You know what? I'm overthinking it. I'm trying to. It's pretty simple.
It's Jeopardy.
Yeah,
it's about overthinking.
Yeah.
So now we move to Sports Jeopardy for 800. Here are your terms. Penalty kill, plus minus, the 5-hole, the biscuit.
All right, this might get me because it could be. I'm gonna go with soccer.
Okay. Texters, you guys are welcome. Penalty kill, plus minus, the 5-hole, and the biscuit. What sport are those terms used in? Lonzo's chimed in with what is soccer. Texter chimes in with what is hockey.
Yeah, see, I knew it was one or the other. And
It was 50-50 to you?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
So I knew I was wrong after I already said it, but
Here's Mayim Bialik with the answer. Yes, indeed. The 5-hole, of course, refers to a goal that goes between the goalie's legs. That's the 5-hole.
By the way, I didn't know that. So now I know that.
There you go.
Okay.
Penalty kill, of course, if you go on the power play, the other team is skating down a man with a penalty on them, so you want to kill that off. That is a penalty kill, and the puck frequently referred to as the biscuit, plus minus a stat.
By the way, I didn't know the puck was referred to as the biscuit.
Oh, yeah.
But it kind of makes sense. So it's shaped like a biscuit.
All right.
Yeah.
So we've got baseball, golf, boxing, and hockey. all off the way. Ladies and gentlemen, now we come to Sports Jeopardy for 1,000. How many of you can go 5 for 5? Here are your terms. Shucker, gag bit, mallet, and a lot of money. Shucker,
No,
gag bit,
I was gonna say I heard. I'm gonna go. Dude,
and a lot of money.
dude, I don't need your help. I'm either gonna get it right or wrong on my own. I'm gonna go with polo.
Polo says the great one. We've got a couple of texters playing the game that are perfect so far. One texter chimes in, says, "What is polo?" The next texter says, "What is poop?" But then corrected themselves and said polo.
Autocorrect to get you sometimes.
It got him good.
I mean, wow.
That texter will forever live on knowing he once texted the Rob Brown Show, "What is poop?" So we're feeling good about ourselves. Ding, ding, ding.
So I missed the hockey question, but I got the polo
You
question.
got
right.
polo right, but hockey wrong.
Polo is just croquet on horses.
Which, by the way, the only sports talk show in the upstate that talks hockey is the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate.
Which-
You're welcome, Yankees.
Which should make me be a little more. Why do you say Yankees, man? There's more. There's more of that up north. I'm just
Yeah, hockey. There's more hockey up
more
north. That's what I'm
up
saying.
north.
And
Also,
the
so
hockey,
you
the
were
hockey fans that moved here
all right. So
can
I'm
only get their NHL
I'm-
talk
here-
on the Rob
here's
Brown
the
Show.
thing. I'm used to disdain and anger and things towards Yankees, but that was actually saying, okay, all right.
Oh, no.
I took it the wrong way. I
Not at all.
apologize. I'm still mad about missing the hockey
No, I know.
question.
I saw that. Not at all. I'm
I
saying
should, and I was leaning there, and I stopped myself the last second because I overthought.
overthinking
No,
is Jeopardy.
The 5-hole threw me because I had never heard that
Yeah.
before.
The
So
5-hole is a goal that goes
why is
between
that?
the keeper's legs.
Why is that the 5-hole?
1 hole, 2 hole, 3 hole, 4 hole, 5 hole?
Okay, but why?
Glove side high is 1, stick side high is 2, glove side low is 3, stick side low is 4, 5 holes right under the legs.
Yeah,
If you think
but
about a goalie,
why? I mean, you
if
know.
you think about a goalie, he's stretched out like this. The gloves out.
No.
on one side,
I
sticks on the
get
other.
I get all
So
that.
there's 5 holes you can score a goal in. The fifth one.
But
goes
why
between
not
the legs.
make the 5 to 1 and then go out from the,
Why not make 10 louder and make 10 the loudest? Because that's just what it is.
Okay. All right.
By the way, that is the best possible answer I could have given you in that moment. A Spinal Tap reference.
So, which I got because we're about to go up to 11 and it's 10-11.
This one goes
So,
to 11.
yes.
But why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 the loudest? But this one goes to 11.
I was
One of the greatest movies ever.
I was
made.
about to ask a question that might get me in trouble down the hall.
No, I am not spontaneously combustible.
No, because you're not a drummer. I'm just curious if the Stonehenge statues are taller than someone. I mean, the things that pop in your head. I mean, you know, but
Poor
that's
Stone Man.
I see. I didn't
Can't
say his
catch a
name.
break.
I didn't say his name. You said his name.
All right. So how many of y'all went 5 for 5? One texter says SCND fan needs a prize. Fan swag is good. I will tell you 2 things. SCND fan. Number 1, we do have more swag coming in, which means we will have more swag going out sooner rather than later. And number 2, pending permission from the boss, sometime in the near future, my goal is to start bringing Fan Upstate swag to the countless sporting events that I attend around the upstate and being able to hand it out to people as we go.
Shout out to Cold Take Jim. That's exactly what I looked like in high school.
Oh, well, now I have to check Twitter. Hashtag nailed it. Hashtag nailed it. So we had 2 texters that went 5 for 5, including one that texted, "What is poop?" Typo every time. Check your auto correct, ladies and gentlemen. But a solid effort. A solid effort from the great one. He missed 1, and the only one he missed was hockey. And he was very close. If you count not being close at all as very close.
No, because hockey is just soccer on ice. I mean, it is.
I mean, if you discount everything about the
Water
sport, yeah.
polo is just, soccer in a
Murder?
pool. Soccer in a
It's
pool.
attempted homicide.
Well, yeah, drownings could happen. Yes. I mean, all these games that look like soccer kind of are soccer.
Literally none of them look like.
Yeah, Dude, are you serious? They all have nets. They all basically have the same kind
Oh, well,
of
then
rules.
basketball is soccer.
I
It's
don't.
just elevated goals, right?
It could be. Could be. Well, do you think I was going to get offended by that? Although originally it was just peach baskets and they didn't have a hole underneath them. And you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lonzo goes 4 for 5. How did you do? Send me your answer at The Rob Brown Show on Twitter, at The Rob Brown Show. It's the Rob Brown Armada. You all went 5 for 5, right? We know you did.
Yeah, you're all smarter than me. We all know that.
Hey, 80%'s a solid B, Lonzo. In Florida, 80's a B. All right? So you're a B player.
Why did you say in Florida?
Because I don't know if it is here.
Yeah, well,
I don't know what the grading scale
depends
is.
on
Here.
if it's the 4-point scale or the 5-point scale.
See, I don't know. When I was growing up in Florida until I was in like 9th grade, you had to get a 94 or above for an A. And then when I got into high school, they dropped it from a 94 down to a 90, and we went by the 10-point scale. So 90 to 100 was an A, 80 to 89 was a B, etc.
I will tell you, in ancient times in Columbus, Ohio, we went by the 10-point scale also. But, you know.
So I don't know if Florida was behind or caught up. Either way, Lonzo, 80%. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a B-plus player, right? Actually, it's just a regular B. Actually, it's a B-minus player. But that's not the point. It's not the point.
What's a B-plus player on an A-plus show? I mean, you know, that's pretty good.
I'll let you know when I find out. Let's take a break. When we come back here in a minute, we got a few more things that I want to get into. Clemson, spring practice number 1 yesterday. We'll give you some thoughts and observations on that. There's an MLB writer who asked artificial intelligence to generate a slogan for every Major League Baseball franchise as we get ready for first pitch. Some of them are hilarious. We'll read those for you coming up later in the show.
Oh, yes. Let's bow to the evil overlords even more.
I think you're going to love this. I really do. And then coming up at around 10:40, the legendary Dan Scott, voice of the Furman Paladins, will join us as well. Rob, Lonzo, you, the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. Kevin's never going to let the nose whistle go. Clearly.
There he is. There he is. Which is worse, Kevin? A nose whistle, which you can't prove that I do. Maybe you could if you recorded the show. Or someone moving their microphone all over the place and hitting it and stuff. I'm not mad, by the way. I slept wrong. I can't move my neck hardly. All right, because of Kevin, I'm taking us down for a little bit. I'm going to go cry in the corner. So what you did, Kevin?
Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-932-8603.
There he is. Like I said, I love that the dumbest jokes will never die.
Directly into those aching joints, getting you moving again without pain. Knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain, it does not matter. And the customer satisfaction reports are incredible. Listen, the old ways of dealing with joint pain are not the only way. So if you're being told you need surgery, do yourself a favor and call QC Kinetics right now. Learn more about this wildly popular, all-natural alternative to relieving that joint pain with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. The call is free. The consultation is free. You have nothing to lose. Call QC Kinetics 864-448-3772 in Greenville and Asheville. 864-448-3772. It's QC Kinetics. A tradition of mine is to pick up at least one new college polo each year, and I'm always trying to find something that nobody else has. If you're a Clemson or South Carolina fan, let me tell you, Smith & James has the nicest looking team gear you've seen. It's fresh and unique, and we don't have to worry about everyone else having your shirts. Better yet, people will be asking you where you got it. How do we know? Because we're wearing Smith & James, and they're asking us. Check out their collection today at smithandjames.com. Stop by their stores in downtown Greer and on Verde Boulevard in Greenville.
Sponsored by DiscoverAtlanta.com.
Start by visiting DiscoverAtlanta.com. You'll discover a new 50 fun things to do, places to explore, and great events for the whole family. Don't miss Harry Potter the Exhibition before it leaves Atlanta. Book your hotel, shop, and dine in Atlanta's Buckhead. Visit DiscoverAtlanta.com.
Harry Potter the Exhibition. It just doesn't sound right. I will say that Rob missed you, Kevin.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. It is Rob. It is Lonzo. It is you. 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. Text us at 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-M. We'll read them on the air. FAN, F-A-N. What do we got? Bunch of stuff coming up. Oh, let's talk spring practice, shall we? Let's talk Clemson spring practice. Day number 1. Dan Scott will join us in the next segment to talk Furman shooty hoops. So let's talk about a little bit what was seen yesterday at spring practice. Now, obviously, I was not there because of the fact that I was here doing the works. Anyway, Chapel Fowler of the state newspaper was there, and he offered some observations for us from day 1 of spring practice for Clemson. He said it started off, and by the way, only the early portion of practice was open to the media. So they got to see limited aspects of what day 1 looked like. He said the first thing that stood out was how closely and intensely Garrett Riley was working with Cade Klubnik and the quarterbacks, right? Now, the way that Garrett Riley runs an offense.
This is how you throw the ball. Like this. No, that's handing off. Now this
you see how he's further away, Cade?
This is how, yeah. So no, you're not Patrick Mahomes. You can't make that pass underneath. You got to throw it over your head. That's a pass. Good job. You'll get better.
That's not a direct quote from practice, though.
It was not. That was an interpretation.
Paraphrasing. So he said that Garrett Riley was working right out of the gate very intensely with the quarterbacks, predominantly quarterback Cade Klubnik, obviously expected to be the week 1 starter for the Tigers. He said Riley ran the quarterbacks through a drill in which they had to move through a line of wobbling tackle dummies while maintaining a, quote, deliberately slow pace, end quote. What were they gunning for there? Pocket presence. Riley, the former TCU offensive coordinator, asked Klubnik and his quarterback teammates after each one of them bumped into at least one dummy the first time around, quote, who can be the most calm? Woozah. Woozah. Dabo Swinney after practice said that Riley has already been, quote, awesome, end quote, in his role as the quarterback's coach, which former OC Brandon Streeter held from 2014 until 2021. So a lot of focus on making sure that the quarterbacks are calm, cool, and collected in the pocket. Now, as we mentioned on yesterday's show, in our intro to spring practice thoughts, the first thought was, you're bringing back 80% of your offensive line. 4 of the 5 starters are back. Jordan McFadden, the only one that moved on to the league or graduation. Tristan Lee was the guy who stepped in at left tackle with the ones yesterday. He was joined by Mitchell Mays at left guard, Will Putnam at center, right guard Trent Howard, and right tackle Blake Miller. 2 of last year's starting offensive linemen, Marcus Tate and Walker Parks, are missing spring practice after surgeries. We told you about that yesterday as well. They were wearing the yellow non-contact jerseys yesterday. The good news, as both of them had minor surgery on their legs, neither one of them was wearing a brace on that leg. So we'll read between the lines a little bit and assume that that means that the recovery is going as expected for both Tate and Parks, which would mean if they are good and ready to go in the fall, your left guard, center, right guard, and right tackle will all be back. The only position that is undergoing a transformation is, of course, the blindside protector, the left tackle, where Tristan Lee did step in yesterday. Alabama, Arizona State graduate transfer Paul Tyson was limited due to a thumb injury. Redshirt junior quarterback Hunter Helms instead took second-team reps in the team's early practice tempo drill. That's the same drill we were talking about with Klubnik a minute ago. True freshman Chris Vecina took the third-team reps at that point. During that tempo drill, we mentioned the offensive line looked consistent, calm, reliable on the offensive side of the ball. Once again, that is according to the State's Chapel Fowler, who was at practice yesterday. At the wide receiver position, I gave you 3 questions yesterday I wanted answered. Who's going to step up and be the man at left tackle? What does the quarterback tempo look like? And who of the defensive backs are going to step up? The other question I asked, wide receiver. Can Clemson return to the dominance at the wideout position that they've displayed over the years? Well, here's what we know from day one. Receiver Troy Stellato wore a left knee brace as he continues to recover from surgery to a torn ACL back in September. He played in only 2 of 27 possible games over the 2 seasons he's been at Clemson due to injuries. Receivers Bo Collins and Adam Randall were also in non-contact jerseys. That means that 3 of the top 5 wideouts on the roster are, as of right now, unavailable for spring practice. But it also means that there is ample opportunity in the spring for young guys to step up, particularly freshman early enrollee Noble Johnson, a former 4-star recruit transferred from Texas, ranked as the number 57 wide receiver in the class. He's going to get some time to shine with those other wide receivers out due to injury. On the defensive side of the ball, Monday marked freshman defensive lineman Peter Wood's first career practice as a Tiger. He was the easily most hyped recruit in Clemson's recruiting class of 2023 after finishing his career at Thompson High School in Alabama. Came out as the number 33 prospect overall in the country. He was joined by freshman early enrollees TJ Parker and Vic Burley. They rank as top 10 defensive linemen in the class. Woods, says Fowler, goes 6'2", 300 pounds on the defensive line, but said that he absolutely was cooking in defensive line drills. Said he's quick, he's explosive, and he is able to blow off the line of scrimmage. These are all things you'll be looking at out of him moving forward. 3 defensive linemen in yellow jerseys yesterday. Oroho, tackle Peyton Page, defensive end Xavier Thomas. All 3 players had late season or postseason cleanup surgeries. Of course, that means, once again, the 3 early enrollees we told you about just a moment ago, as well as Greg Williams, DeMonte Capard, Cade Denhoff, and Zaire Patterson, all got extra reps yesterday. Sweeney had some criticisms of safety Andre Nkuba, on Monday. Former ACC Rookie of the Year, made a bunch of mistakes as a sophomore, but Sweeney said that he, quote, didn't have his body in the best possible spot. Nkuba has solidly put on, according to Fowler, 8 to 9 pounds above his playing weight from last year. Sweeney said those 8 to 9 pounds should be beneficial for his health. He played hurt a lot of last season. In the tempo period, Nkuba came down with a nice sideline interception on a fade route that was intended for Antonio Williams. Could he be the breakout defensive back player that we are looking for if Clemson wants to return to the playoffs this year? Other notes, according to Chapel Fowler, the Clemson Athletics Branding Institute, the CAB, is open for business, and the media was given a tour. Remember, the CAB is a name, image, and likeness-focused space that includes a podcast studio, meeting rooms, photo rooms, and a new balcony overlooking the indoor practice facility field. It is accessible to all Clemson student athletes and also houses the office of C.D. Davies, the football team's in-house NIL coordinator. So Clemson has, despite some of the, shall we say, complaints of Dabo Sweeney about NIL, has went ahead and created a massive NIL facility right there in-house at the football program.
Wait. So I thought Dabo didn't do that and all that kind of stuff. I just that's shocking.
Well, look, how many times have I told you over the past 2 years since this came into play that, and it's not just Dabo, it's Nick, it's all of them. You have 2 choices. You adapt or you get left behind.
I still don't understand, because I thought NIL was supposed to be outside of the school and not have anything to do with the school. So if it is, how do you have an office for that sort of thing?
The schools, and this is also state by state to some degree, the schools cannot facilitate an NIL deal, but they absolutely can help a student athlete.
Hey, listen, we can't facilitate. I know we got an office that's an NIL office, but that's not what we're just trying to explain what it is. So we have an office to explain what it is. We're not going to tell you that.
Nope,
we're not going
to
to tell you that Joe's down the street might be looking for to have a tackle to represent them. We're not going to tell you that, because we can't do. We're just an office. We had space. We decided to put NIL on it. Why not?
Let's say that Bob's Discount Cars decides to get Antonio Williams an NIL deal. And they say, as part of your NIL deal, we would like you to release once a week a podcast about your life, right? We want you to talk about practice, want you to talk about the games, want you to talk about school, want you to talk about your love life, whatever it is. We want you, Antonio Williams, to put out.
Yeah, I don't think Bob's is going to say that, but
we want you to put out the podcast. Okay. Clemson can't facilitate that deal. What Clemson absolutely can do is provide a podcast studio where Antonio can go in and cut a good pod that he can then deliver to Bob's Discount Cars, and Bob's Discount Cars can go, great pod, here's $1,000.
By the way, this is not me coming at Clemson. That's any school. I mean, that's doing it. We just happen to be talking about that, because I don't understand how they weren't supposed to be associated with NIL, but now it's okay for NIL to be able to build. The smoke screen is not working when it's right there. I mean, it's right there. We have an office about this, but this is another thing where it's not regulated, so it doesn't matter. We can say we're not doing something, but we're absolutely doing something.
Providing someone with the opportunity to do a thing is not the same thing as contracting them to do it. Providing a place for Antonio Williams to do a pod is not the same as getting him the deal to do the pod. He has to come to them and go, I got a deal to do a pod. And they go, great, here's the pod studio.
It's so pimping.
Spending G's. I'm just a big pimp. Okay. Anyway, Former Clemson defensive end KJ Henry and defensive tackle Brian Bresee were hanging around practice yesterday, as was former tight end Luke Price, who just concluded his 6-year Clemson career. And in case you were curious, great one, opening practice tunes according to Chapel Fowler.
I can't wait for this. Will I know any of them?
This Is How We Do It by Montreal Jordan.
Know that one?
This is how we do it.
It's also been used on a ton of commercials too. So
The Boys Are Back in Town by Thin Lizzy.
Thin Lizzy. Know the Thin Lizzy, yes.
And the only one that got me, and I feel like I might know it if I heard it, but I didn't know it by title and artist alone, Lonzo, Good Day by Greg Street. Do you know that one?
No. Sounds like a remake.
My thought is it's the song that DA uses to introduce his show. It's gonna be a good day. And all my homies look fly today.
I've never heard the beginning of this show. That's pretty early.
All I want to do is get by today. Hey, it's going to be a good day. I think that's the song. I think. But I will find out during the break. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, the legendary voice of the Furman Paladins, the great Dan Scott, joins us. Y'all, the Dins are going dancing. They win the SoCon tournament final last night, and they, for the first time in 40 years, are headed to March Madness. We'll talk about that with Dan Scott when we come back on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. James.
Yeah, those Tecmo Bowl things, those actually worked. So.
The old Ask Mad button. All right, guys, we got to take a real quick step aside as we get Dan on the phone. We will be back momentarily. Do not go anywhere. Stay right there. Be right back. Thanks. Up plus A, hand to Shipley. The Tecmo Bowl playbook. Brandon Streeter was a walking ass Corso button.
I thought that was the Cade play, but I mean, you know, that's just. What are the chances the very first play is a handoff from Cade for the beginning of the season? Just
You would
curious.
lose your mind.
Yes, I would.
You know, it's not every day that you get to have a legend on the show. But today, ladies and gentlemen, one of those days. And before we bring in the legendary Dan Scott, Lonzo, if you don't mind grabbing me clip 3. Because yesterday, right here on the Fan Upstate, when Furman played in the SoCon final, if you were listening, you got to hear this call, ladies and gentlemen.
So Jalen Slauson gets it into JP Pegues. JP across midcourt, gives it to Slauson with 3 seconds, with 2, and for the first time since 1980, Furman Purple reigns in the Southern Conference. The Furman Paladins are going to the NCAA tournament. 88-79 the final. Furman over Chattanooga. Handshakes, hugs, smiles, tears. Mike Bothwell, Jalen Slauson in each other's arms, now getting hugs from the opposing coach, Dan Earl. The Paladins, wire to wire, picked number 1 before the season, and now they have won the championship.
That, of course, is the voice of our next guest, friend of the program, friend of the show, friend of the station, friend of mine on and off the air. He, ladies and gentlemen, is the great Dan Scott joining us on the show. And most importantly of all, Dan, do you have the voice back, my guy?
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, it was a struggle all tournament long. I got a cold last week, actually starting the symptoms coming back from the regular season finale at Sanford. And what happens with me, that happens about twice a year. I get a cold, go through all the symptoms. The last thing that happens is it settles in my throat and I lose my voice. So I have to take a steroid treatment to knock it out and get it out of there. This time I took the steroid treatment, the week-long treatment, and you could still hear how my voice is. So not only did the steroids not work, they definitely did not enhance my performance any.
I mean, listen, Dan Scott at 65% is Rob Brown at $130. I think you did great. And by the way, Lonzo and I both wanted to hand you the flowers for working in Purple Rains. Very well done, young man.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I never script anything. I'm not one who believes in scripting and ending. But I've had that kind of phrase working in my mind really for the last 2 or 3 seasons as Furman has been good. So you think, you know, how are you going to end this thing? And you don't want to just go with the straight Purple Rain reference. And you can't just say purple for the first time since 1980, because I think Western Carolina has one at a time or two in there. So you got to throw the Furman in there and play off of that a little bit. But yeah, you can tell I'm a child of the 80s.
Just an A+ reference from the great Dan Scott, voice of the Furman Paladins, joining us here on the show. As he mentioned, for the first time since 1980, the Dins are going dancing. And you mentioned it there in the call, Dan Scott, wire to wire, pick number 1 before the season. Last year, a heartbreak dagger in the exact same game kept the Dins out. Was the relief obvious on Bob Ritchie's face, on the face of the players, etc., to get a little bit of revenge and set themselves up for a March tournament game?
You know, I got to say yes and no. And the reason being this: while it was largely the same Furman team, minus, you know, Alex Hunter and Conley Garrison, who moved on after last year, it was a completely different Chattanooga team. New coach, just a couple of players who were any kind of contributor to their team a year ago. So from that standpoint, it was different. The thing that I love about Bob Ritchie and the way they handled this thing is they did not try to pretend it didn't happen. They did not try to shove it into oblivion. They addressed it the next day in the hotel before they left to come back to campus and said it's either going to be a stumbling block or a building block. And to a man, and what's in their heart, what's in the back of their mind, I don't know. To a man, players, coaches, everybody, as this season goes on, it is not something that they talked about. It's not something that they said they were using as, a major motivational tool. Now, having said that, you see the relief, you see the tears that Mike Bothwell and Jalen Slauson are shedding last night when they're hugging each other as time expired. You listen to Jalen Slauson trying to talk to us on the radio and not having the words really to say anything. It obviously played a role in their motivation, but I just thought that they handled it well. It was about this year's team, about this year's moment. And Bob said something to us in the pregame interview yesterday. He said that they told the team from day one, you are not entitled to get back to Monday night. You've got to earn it. And man, did they. The school record for wins, ups and downs, and you get the payoff last night.
Dan Scott, voice of the Furman Paladins here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. We talked about this last year after the tournament final where Furman, again, just ate the dagger heartbreak. And you and I, Dan, you may or may not remember, had a very long conversation about how we both felt the SoCon being a one-bid conference was, frankly, kind of unfair based on how good specifically the two teams that made the final were. Do you think there was some motivation in that, knowing that based on the fact that the SoCon is frequently considered maybe unfairly more years than not a one-bid conference, was making the tournament a motivation for this team, or was this team pretty much dialed in on let's go get this conference crown?
Well, I think they go hand in hand. The Southern Conference has never been a multi-bid league, ever. It's always been a one-bid league. And you can go back 4 or 5 years ago, and I think it may have been Furman or it may have been the conference. I can't remember, but looking at at the metrics, it was the first time ever that a conference, that's what it was, that had finished so high and so many different metrics had not gotten multiple teams in. So they know going in that in order to get to the NCAA tournament, you're going to have to win the conference tournament. So, once you reconcile yourself to that and you put all the other noise behind you about what's fair and what's unfair, perceived or reality, you just dial in on the task at hand. And that's probably the most impressive thing about this coaching staff and then the way the players responded, knowing what the task was from the day that they reconvened last summer and keeping that at the forefront as they move through this season. Now, a lot of detours, a lot of hiccups, but they knew that to get to the tournament, they were going to have to get to the NCAAs. They were going to have to win the SoCon tournament, and they were able to do that.
Dan Scott, voice of the Furman Paladins. They are going dancing into March for the first time since, Dan, I believe, let's see, you were 4 or 5 years old the last time Furman made the tournament?
No, I turned 13 on April 14th of 1980. Our athletic director was 3 years old in 1980. And when he told me that, I kicked him off the air last night. I said, I don't care if you are the boss. Get out of here.
Well, then I shan't mention, Dan Scott, that Rob Brown was not yet a glimmer in his father's eye at the point the Dins went dancing last. But glad to be sporting the purple. Anyway, talk to me about Jalen Slauson's night last night. 8 of 12 from the floor, 2 of 3 from deep, ended up with 5 boards, 4 assists, and a steal and a block to go along with it. How critical was Jalen Slauson down the stretch to make sure that Chattanooga was not able to start digging back out of that hole?
Well, you saw in a microcosm why he was the Southern Conference Player of the Year, because the way he can affect the game in so many ways. And over the last 2 seasons, adding the ability to be a legitimate threat from the 3-point line has only made him better. But Jalen can do things to affect the game in which, he may only score 8 or 9 points. But his rebounding, his athleticism, his ability to block shots, those things, his on-ball defense, when he's locked in, he's as good as it gets. And so we saw that entire package from him last night. And what was interesting, in the first half, he got raked across the hand on the way to the basket and hurt his thumb. And he missed the 2 free throws, then went out of the game, took him back into the tunnel, and they wrapped his thumb, and he stayed that way through the end of the first half. Coming out for the second half, he told the trainer, he said, "Take it off, I'm fine." Took the wrap off and had a monster second half. The big 3, had a big dunk, a block, all those rebounds. He was fun to watch.
There's guys that I really like to talk about on certain teams, specifically role players, and Alex Williams was one of those. In the game I filled in for you a couple of months ago when you were calling a Furman football game in Texas, Alex Williams had a career day, was white hot from the arc. Last night contributed 12 off the bench, 4 of 9 from the floor, 2 of 4. But I think Williams is kind of a snapshot of what this team is about. It's not so much about the guys elevating themselves, but knowing when and where to step in. He had an impressive 25 minutes last night, coming in and providing some much needed support down the stretch. How big have the guys like Alex Williams, guys like Garrett Hain, maybe guys that haven't gotten the front page love that Slauson and Bothwell have gotten, how critical have they been to Furman's run to a SoCon championship? And if Furman can pull a first round upset, how big are those types of players in that?
Well, you don't get here without them. And it goes back to the loss to Greensboro, when after that game, Bob and the staff decided, we've got to settle on a 9-man rotation. We've got to commit to playing those guys. And from that moment, they won, I think, 13 of the last 14 or 14 of the last 15 games. And Alex Williams was a big part of that. He missed the first 6 games, violation of team rules, a little slow start coming on, but he's such a tough guard. He's 6'4", he's stocky, he's got range, and we've seen his game develop this year as not just a 3-point shooter. He's a guy who can put it on the floor, can create shots, he can rebound, he can do some different things. He's one of those guys that I don't know that he realizes how good he can be, but he had a big night last night off the bench when they needed it, because prior to last night, in the first 2 games, while they'd gotten good minutes, the only bench performer that had scored was freshman Ben Vanderwall in the quarterfinal and the semifinal. So they needed that. And they got 21 points total off the bench last night.
Dan Scott, voice of the Furman Paladins. They knock off the Chattanooga Mocs last night, 79-88, and the Dins are going dancing in those purple suede shoes for the first time since 1980. Dan, man, I appreciate you battling through it to talk to us today, my guy. And, hey, we got some more basketball to talk about down the line, my man.
We do. We'll find out on Sunday. I think they're going to have a watch party for the NCAA selection show at Timmons, and some information will be coming out about that. And we'll find out, our only hope, and Tom and I were talking about this yesterday, send us anywhere you want. Just don't send us to Greensboro. We play there every year. Send us somewhere else. Let the kids have an experience.
Bracketology right now, Dan Scott, and obviously there's a lot to be settled with conference tournaments still to be played for the big dogs, but bracketology right now has Furman as a 14 seed in the West, opening round in Albany against number 3 Gonzaga. And I will say, a Gonzaga team that certainly looks more beatable this year than they have in years past.
You know what? I said this at the end of the broadcast last night. It doesn't matter. Pressure's off now. Furman's playing with house money.
I love to hear it. I love to hear it. Dan Scott, you're a legend, buddy. We'll talk to you again before the tournament kicks up.
All right, Rob. Thanks.
You got it. That is Dan Scott, voice of the Furman Paladins. Follow him on social media at Dan Scott Show. If you want to keep in touch with Dan as we get closer to round 1, game 1, the Dins dancing into March. We are back after this with hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
I did watch like the last 8 minutes of that game,
Yeah.
and they were starting to catch up with Furman. It was like, uh-oh.
That's what I'm saying. You needed some guys to come in there late and make a little noise for you.
Looked like a good crowd, too.
Hamilton County, Ohio Sheriff's deputies entered Joe Mixon's home overnight after a shots fired call. No arrests were made. One local report says a juvenile was taken from the scene with minor injuries. NBA last night, the Celtics falling in overtime for the second consecutive night in a second city. Last night, a 118-114 loss in Cleveland. Boston has dropped 3 straight 4 of 5. For the first time since 1980, Furman men's basketball dancing after beating Chattanooga for the SoCon bid 88-79. Louisiana won the Sun Belt Tourneys 71-66 over South Alabama. The UConn women won their 3rd straight 21st overall Big East Tourney title 67-56 over Villanova. I'm Andrew Milbush.
Hey, it's Amy Laura.
Really?
Be sure to listen to
Tell me you don't see that on a t-shirt, Lonzo. Tell me you don't see that on a t-shirt already.
I will tell you, I don't want to see that on a T-shirt. How about that?
Ladies and gentlemen, Ray D'Andio lives. Look how good that is. Look how good that is. Actually, you know what? I can make it better. I can make it better.
Free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Want to know the best part?
There it is. Now it's better.
You know, if I were to criticize it, other than the name really stinks, I would outline the D&D.
Yeah, that's what I was
to make it, you know.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
If I can get that out.
If I were to do that, I would think it would look better.
I agree.
I still hate the name.
How do you hate that name? It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
You are never going to get me on board with that.
Yes, I will. It'll win you over. I'll win you over.
Right now, I got Alanis Morissette stuck in my head. You know, the song "You've Already Won Me Over." You may not know that song. He's concentrating, trying to fix the D&D part.
ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Running a small business is no small task. And let us make. We work hard to prepare businesses for whatever tomorrow may bring. Your dreams are our business. And we have local experts who can help you plan for a successful future. Dependable guidance you need.
You guys are just agreeing with him to go against me. I don't believe any of you really like it.
It's good. You don't have to agree, but you're wrong. It's good.
You're right. I don't have to, and I'm not going to.
Good. Hashtag Ray D'Andio.
There's no pulling rank or anything because I'm not really sure who has ownership. We just show up and play. So I mean, you know.
Dungeon Master.
This time.
It's right there in the name.
Is it?
For now. I'm happy to let Chris run the next one. Actually, no, because I've got
I don't know.
This campaign could go on forever. I have a book of ideas. Of course, we'll see how many of y'all screw up before we get there. I thought I was in the middle of a party implosion last episode. I thought, oh, they're going to kill themselves before they even get out of this damn cave.
Oh, no. We'd be -1 vegan orc. Don't even act like each other.
Vegan orc. What a line. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The third, the final, the best, the money hour. The Rob Brown Show starts now. This is the Fan Upstate. How you doing, y'all? It is great to be with you. I am Rob Brown. Directly across from me on the other side of the glass is the great one, Lonzo. We're so glad to have you guys along for the ride. Let me get this in real quick, mainly because it makes me laugh like a lot. Lonzo, big fan of artificial intelligence. Big fan. There is a gentleman by the name of Dan Szymborski. Dan Szymborski is an ESPN.
Sounds like a made-up name to me. Sounds like an artificially intelligence name.
Well, he's a big AI guy. In fact, he not only is a member of the Baseball Writers Association of America, an ESPN contributor, a data consultant, and senior writer for Fangraphs, but he's a big AI guy. Likes, as I do. Have you used ChatGPT yet?
No.
I have.
You have showed it to me.
It's hilarious.
I am not
and terrifying.
I am not interested in partaking in their overthrow of humanity. But I mean, if you're into that, that's fine.
I, of course, am educating ChatGPT to take over the world day by day. I have asked it to write me different songs in different styles about different things. Some of them are hilarious. Chris and I, the other day, were in the office, and I asked it straight up, do you have any plans for world domination? And it told me that as an artificial intelligence requiring programming to operate, it does not have goals. It simply has tasks it is asked to achieve, and its only mission is to accomplish those tasks for which it is programmed and commanded to undertake. And I, for one, Lonzo, take ChatGPT at its word.
Oh, yeah, sure. And Hal in 2001 probably would say the same thing. There are several. Joshua in War Games, same thing. I mean, there's quite a few sci-fi
Skynet,
movies.
Same thing.
Yeah, I don't know what Skynet's name was originally.
Fair. Well, Dan Szymborski, asked artificial intelligence to scan through articles, fan sites, documents, previous slogans, historical stuff about all 30 Major League Baseball teams and create a team slogan, a team motto for every team before opening day. His artificial intelligence took a few minutes to begin sorting and figuring it out, and it spit out a motto for all 30 teams. And some of them, Lonzo, are just raw greatness. Here are some of the team slogans spit out by artificial intelligence about the 30 Major League Baseball teams before opening day. Arizona Diamondbacks, their slogan, you gotta beat them or you can't.
That's profound.
It is. Atlanta Braves. Here is the Braves slogan from artificial intelligence. Lonzo, their slogan, my heart goes a little gangsta. Kind of love it. I kind of love it.
Okay. I don't hate that.
I kind of love it.
Well, where does that come from?
My heart goes a little gangsta.
My heart goes. Where does that come from?
You got to assume that it filtered in when you talk Atlanta. You got to talk Atlanta's hip hop scene. They've kind of the center of hip hop in the Southeast.
All right.
Right. You got Luda in the gang out of the ATL, Yin Yang Twins coming out of the ATL. My heart goes a little gangsta. Print it on a t-shirt. I'll buy it. Baltimore Orioles. There's no me in strikeout. Why do I like that more than I should? There's no me in strikeout.
There's no
That's
me
great.
in strikeout.
If you're a mashing hitter, that's a great slogan, right? Boston Red Sox. Beauty is in the eye of the beer holder. For a team that sucks, that's a great slogan.
So artificial intelligence has found through articles and much research that you guys are a bunch of drunks up there.
No, we just like beer. There's a difference.
No. Well, I mean, you know.
Chicago Cubs. Through pain, we gain freedom. I mean, that's the most fitting statement about any team from Chicago ever. Through pain, we gain freedom.
Doesn't that sound like something William Wallace would say? I mean, I don't know.
Yes.
Or someone who's into some stuff, you know. I always get sado and masochist mixed up. A sadist
enjoys inflicting pain.
And a masochist enjoys having. Yeah, okay.
Inflicted.
All right.
Chicago White Sox. Forever. Or possibly something less.
That's
incredible.
Wait a minute. That's what it forever.
The White Sox
or possibly
slogan is
less.
forever or possibly something less. As a Saints fan, that resonated with me. Forever or possibly something less. Cincinnati Reds. I don't know how. I don't know why. I can't even come up with a theory as to why this is the slogan of the Reds. The slogan is Cincinnati Reds. You said we were going to the beach.
That is that's what every child who lives in Ohio says.
Yeah.
And they never get to go.
You said we were going to the beach. What a slow. When AI looks at your team and says your fans are so miserable, landlocked in Ohio, that their slogan should be, you said we were going to the beach.
Oh, we're at a Reds game.
Oh, Reds game.
You said we were going to the beach.
That's so good. Cleveland Guardians. Top 3 slogan for me, Lonzo. Gonads, goats, and loans. Cleveland rocks. Gonads, goats, and loans. Here's my next favorite one. The Colorado Rockies. And I love this one, Lonzo, because it is so close to something I say about myself all the time, right? If you talk to anybody who knows me, you know that one of my favorite sayings about myself, about my show, about my life is I strive for mediocrity, right? Mediocrity. Because if you're mediocre, you're not bad. They're not going to can you, but you don't raise the bar with expectations. You just meet them. Colorado Rockies. It's going to be beautiful or maybe acceptable. Are you kidding me? That's an incredible slogan. We might steal that for the Rob Brown Show. It's going to be beautiful or maybe acceptable. Kansas City Royals. Now, before I read this
you need to be careful with this one.
Hey, this is artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
not Rob Brown.
Okay. All right.
I didn't write it. I just
It might be someone down the hall that suddenly perked up and went, okay.
Our big boss is a Royals guy. Okay. The AI slogan for the Kansas City Royals.
By the way, the guy next to him also Royals
I know.
fan. So, you know.
Again, be mad at artificial intelligence, not Rob Brown. Kansas City Royals, believing in the blue, warily. Incredible. Incredible. Los Angeles Angels, testaments to the boom times to come. I mean, here's the thing. You got to understand the Angels if you're this one, right? You've had Mike Trout on the roster for 72 years. You've played in 0 playoff games with him. You've got Shohei Ohtani, the most valuable baseball player on planet Earth right now. He's on this team. They've done nothing with him. They got a lineup of mashers, and they have done nothing. The Angels' testament to the boom times to come is easily the most accurate description on this list. Hands down. And if you're a baseball guy, you know that. Los Angeles Dodgers. Let the great unwashed wallow in our squalor. That's just like That's a Game of Thrones house slogan, right?
What team was that?
The Dodgers. Arguably the best team in the National League, hands down, the Dodgers. Let the great unwashed wallow in our squalor.
See, that's more of an elitist thing to me than it is.
That's why it makes sense.
You go Game of Thrones, and I'm just thinking elitist politicians.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
They're
okay.
the Dodgers. It makes perfect sense. Miami Marlins, greatest show on 8 bits. Spectacular, because the Marlins haven't been good since NES. That makes perfect sense. Minnesota Twins, outstanding stories of day-to-day experience. Milwaukee Brewers. We build the block. We sell the block. We bleeping rule the block. That's a good one. That's a good one. I love that.
Did it put bleeping in there?
Nope.
Okay. All right.
We F-wording rule the block.
All right. Well, dude, we got what it was.
I
Okay?
just
You
needed it to
didn't
be
need-
clear.
Okay. Well, let's not make it any clearer. All
That's
right.
as clear as I can make it. The New York Mets. This ain't Broadway anymore. Why do I like that?
That's kind of sad.
Now, I kind of love it, right? Because like when you think New York baseball, you think Yankees. Like the Mets are an afterthought, right? So for the Mets to be like, we're blowing it up. This ain't Broadway anymore. I actually really like that for them.
No, if I were a baseball fan, I would root for the Yankees.
Yankee slogan is playing the hipster bats.
There we go.
I don't get it.
That should be more. Yeah, it goes against your lifestyle.
Fair enough. Oakland Athletics. Hitting is for suckers.
How do they spell suckers?
The regular way.
Oh, okay.
But capitalized. Hitting is for suckers. Philadelphia Phillies. Top 5. This team is awesome, and we have the scanned documents to prove it. That's unbelievably good. Pittsburgh Pirates. This side of sadness. Yes, Pittsburgh. Yes, indeed. San Diego Padres. Welcome to hell and like it. I don't hate that. I really don't. That's a dope slogan to drop on away team visitors.
No, I think you dropped the and like it. I
Just
mean,
welcome to hell.
yeah.
I don't hate it. San Francisco Giants. Lonzo, this is number 2 on the list for me. I'm saving number 1 for last. My second favorite slogan in baseball. The San Francisco Giants. This team is highly compatible with booze. I don't think you understand. I would buy that shirt yesterday. The Giants. This team is compatible with booze.
No, I think I do understand.
Amazing. Seattle Mariners. Mind your head and let your feet be your weapons. St. Louis Cardinals.
Wait. Mind your head and let your feet be your weapons.
Yeah, I was just I think let your feet be your weapons would be a good one, right? Tell me Malachi Black doesn't roll out there with let your feet be your weapon.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Right?
It also sounds like a Killer Metal song.
Yeah. Cardinals, this is our team. Make no mistake, gumshoe. What is going on in St. Louis right now? Tampa Bay. This club is so busy winning that they don't need you. I mean, they have won 100 games 2 of the last 3 seasons.
How are the crowds? Do people show up to the game?
That makes sense.
So that's okay.
It actually works.
All right.
Texas Rangers. If it ain't broke, what do you want us to do about it? Solid effort.
I kind of like that one.
Toronto Blue Jays. 'Twas fun before the rending. That's incredible. Incredible.
Kind of creepy.
I love it. Washington Nationals. In Naders we trust. Okay, that's terrible. Ladies and gentlemen.
Is that like Ralph Nader? Nader.
I guess Nader they think is short for Nationals.
Is it?
I guess. Well, they call them the Nats. So maybe it's the Naders.
It's N-A-T?
Yeah.
So
the Natters? Maybe it's Natters
maybe it's
we trust?
Natters makes, yeah, Naders. I don't, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you all of those, including the Braves. My heart goes a little gangsta to lead you up to the number 1 generated slogan by artificial intelligence about a Major League Baseball team with inside of a few weeks until opening day. The number 1 slogan, Lonzo, belongs to the Houston Astros. Most hated team in Major League Baseball, perhaps. Maybe have stolen that crown from the Yankees. A cheating scandal which swept years of their organization, despite multiple appearances in the World Series. Trash can banging abounds. Here is the slogan for the Houston Astros. Good luck, bleepers! That's the AI-inspired slogan is good luck, bleepers. And they didn't say bleep.
Okay. All right.
Do you understand if I was a Houston Astros fan, right? I would go full AE Dub fan at a baseball game. Every time I passed an away team fan that wasn't a child, because I'm not a savage. Every time I passed an adult away team fan, if I was an Astros fan, I would walk up to them. I would shake their hand. I would say, welcome to Houston. Good luck, bleepers. And then just walk away.
I'm wondering how many times you would actually be able to walk away if you did that.
I will tell you, as an away team fan, if an opposing fan walked up to me, shook my hand, said, welcome to Houston, good luck, bleeper, I would laugh my bleeper off. All right? I would fall out if that was their slogan.
I am guessing that most people wouldn't have that reaction.
I mean, I don't know. Like, there's a place for smack talk in sports. Agree? You're a Conor McGregor fan.
Yes. No. There is a place, but that's not just walking up to someone and doing that. That's a good way to get punched in the face.
I wouldn't take it as a threat. I would take it as like, that's hilarious, right? That's hilarious.
I don't think I'd take it that way.
Good luck, bleeper.
I do not think I'd take it that way.
So AI spits out a motto for every team. The Braves got, my heart goes a little gangsta.
Let's do a little experiment. Why don't you go down the hall to everyone you meet and just say that to them and see what happens?
Yeah, but like in a sports contest, it makes sense, right? Like you show up to a baseball game, you wish the opponent good luck. I'm wishing you good luck, bleeper.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I wouldn't take here, I'll give it to you. We went up last year. I went up last year for Saints at Panthers in Charlotte, right? Went up, hooked up with Rashad and Dave from the Panther Nation podcast. He'll join us Thursday morning as always.
I didn't get to go because I needed new tires.
You missed out. It was a good time.
Yeah, because I really did need new tires, by the way.
So
was that a flat tire like the next week?
Shad and Rhodey at halftime meet up with Keegan came with me, met up with me and Keegan. And we walked up to the bar and Shad got us shots of brown liquor because we're adults at a football game. And Shad looked me in the face and said, "We dat, bleep." And then we drank together. There's room for fun, friendly banter in sports.
Yeah, but there's a difference there. All right. I know we only talk to Rashad once or twice a week or whatever. And you probably talk to him a little bit more. But that's not like walking up to a stranger and doing that. I mean, I don't think you walk up to us, do that in Philly and see what happens. I mean, there's some places you walk up and do that. You do that at a NASCAR race.
Then let me see
go
if I can
right
find,
ahead.
Let me see if I can find. Dude, I wear Kyle Busch and Jeff Gordon shirts to NASCAR races.
Yeah.
That is the same thing.
Yeah, but you didn't walk.
Same thing.
No. It's not the same as walking up and saying that to someone's
Let me ask you
face.
this question. Let's talk Philly fans for 2 seconds, then we got to take a break. If Guy A, Houston fan, walks up to Guy B, Philly fan, and says, "Good luck, bleepers," and Philly fan decks him in the nose, Philly fan is more wrong than Houston fan, right? 100% more in the wrong. Yes.
I think battery has just been
absolutely that makes it more wrong.
No. Which one's the verbal? Is the verbal the assault?
Battery. Assault is physical.
So battery would be the Houston fan. Assault would be.
I don't think.
And I think retaliate. You just egged them on. You just walked up and said that to someone's face, and you expect them to laugh at it. You are the only one I know would expect laughter after that with a complete stranger or someone who's a fan of the other team.
Good luck, bleeper.
I also don't believe you would do it.
I would absolutely walk up to somebody and say, good luck, bleeper. Because I would do it while laughing because it's funny. Just like if I said that and then they kicked my team's rear ends, I expect them to go, thanks for the luck, bleeper. And I would laugh at that and roll on because it is hilarious. Texture said, it's so cute that people have feelings that they can't take a joke. Bleep on, man. Bleep on.
Yeah, it's called fandom.
Bleep on.
Yeah, it's called fandom. There are a lot of people out there who take their fandom very seriously, and you walk up and say that to them, you're getting punched, kicked, something.
All right, we got to take a break.
You do that to me, I'll be asking for the usher or whoever and tell them that I've been assaulted and I would like this man removed. And then I would say, do you know who I am?
And he would say, sure do, bleeper. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. We got a few more things I want to scream through in the final segment. Then Twitter trending topics wraps it all up. The Rob Brown Show rolls on after this on the Fan Upstate. Good luck, bleeper.
Pardon me, I must go use the facilities. I felt uncomfortable being a part of that conversation in front of Tara. I just did. So, I mean, you know, but I should have been born in 1935 or something like that.
So I walked down the hallway and I asked Captain America Chris Evans down the hall, if he thought it was as funny as I did. And his answer was yes. He could not laugh when I said it.
The same guy in Deadpool 2 when the theme song's going off laughed so loud that I couldn't hear out of my right ear for like 2 weeks.
He thought it was hilarious, as did I. And then Tara came out, and Chris was explaining it to her, and Lonzo couldn't get down the hall fast enough.
It looks warm and breezy outside right now.
It looks really nice outside.
I think it's supposed to be like 75 or something.
Like that. Remember that immunity can take time to build. Check eligibility and schedule at vaccines.gov. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
Sponsored by AutoZone.
Trying to remember if I left the air conditioner on at home. Guess I'll find out when I walk in the door.
I don't think you need it. It's nice out.
The way our house is positioned, the sun goes directly over the house, and it just overheats it. So, plus, you know what? If I want to run my air full blast, I can. You know why? 'Cause I'm an adult. What do you leave your thermostat at?
72.
Dude, man, that's hot.
What are you setting on? Are you one of those 67 people?
69, dude.
Nice. Nice. The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Lonzo with you on a gorgeous Upstate Tuesday afternoon. A little breeze blowing. Sky is cerulean outside. I told you so. I got to work in it at least once a day.
You're gonna forget it eventually. You will. You got a lot of stuff going on. You got 37 jobs. You're gonna forget cerulean eventually.
Speaking of 37 jobs, I will be on field emceeing for a doubleheader tomorrow at Fluor Field. Got 2 baseball games, including South Carolina versus SC Upstate tomorrow afternoon. So if you're going to be at Fluor Field for a little Wednesday afternoon baseball, come find me. I'll be the good-looking guy who looks like me. Want to know what I look like? Go to Facebook.com/TheFanUpstate, Twitter.com/TheFanUpstate, or search and subscribe to The Fan Upstate on YouTube. Do the same for The Rob Brown Show on YouTube and Twitch. And you can watch all 3 hours of the stream live every single day.
He's the one with the shorter hair, by the way. That's him.
I'm the one that in a few weeks will not have a mullet. I'll try, but it's not going to touch Lonzo's mullet that he's committed to going
Every
back to.
time you try to grow your hair, it does not last because you can't take it.
The last one I got pretty good for a minute. Yeah, it gets annoying after a while. I just got to commit.
I'm just trying to be, I'm just being a part of my family.
I will tell you,
This is about as close as I can get to my family as my hair. Because
part of it is I don't have to look at my face every day, but somebody else does, right? And she has a preference, and I'm fine with that.
I joked yesterday about my wife. She's like, I'm not giving you hints. Why would you? I was like, that's just playing around. I don't have she has no problem with how I do my hair.
Sure.
I have no problem with how she does her hair.
Sure. And I told her, I don't care. She has a preference. It's not like a demand. But I also know that sometimes it gets out of control. That being said, there's also a milestone coming up at some point this year, after which is accomplished. She's like, once we're there, I don't care.
Oh, I gotcha. And that's probably the thing with me. Although she has never, since we were dating all the way to now, ever said, you know what? I don't like your hair. And I don't expect that to happen.
Who couldn't? It's great. All right.
Oh, it's beautiful. Most people are jealous, including Kevin.
Let's get a couple more bits of news and sports in here. We talked to you earlier about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Today at 4 p.m. is the NFL franchise tag deadline. If you are going to tag a player with a franchise tag, you have to do it by 4 o'clock today. And of course, many teams elect not to use the franchise tag. Some do. And the caliber of player that you are going to give is the tag to goes team by team. Could Lamar Jackson be tagged? Well, I got two pieces of sound for you. Let me start with clip 2, if you don't mind. Going back to the Rich Eisen podcast, he was on fire yesterday. Rich Eisen reported on what he is hearing, or heard, I should say, out of the combine, reporting the state of negotiations between the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Rich is a nerd. Lamar's situation with the Baltimore Ravens is, quote, ugly, from Rich Eisen, per the conversations that he had at the combine. Says that it was an ugly situation. Well, he's not the only one that talked out. Baltimore Executive Vice President Ozzie Newsome. I'm going to go to clip 5 here, if you don't mind, Lonzo. Ozzie Newsome got asked about the situation between Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. Of course, I have told you that when it comes down to it, there are two massive dominoes that need to fall before the draft, before everybody else starts to scramble. Aaron Rodgers is one of them. Lamar Jackson is the other. There were thoughts that Baltimore could very well trade Lamar Jackson instead of tagging him. Why? Because there are, based on whether they use the exclusive franchise tag or non-exclusive, there's about $16 million per year in difference. And the rumor is that Lamar Jackson might sit out a year if they do not exclusive him and bring him up to top 5 league average at quarterbacks. Ozzie Newsome says the Ravens have a plan. Franchise tag. Now, you'll notice he does not say exclusive or non-exclusive. He does not give a hint as to what type of tag they might be looking at. They do not give a hint. He does not give a hint as to where he currently stands right now in contract negotiations. But Rich says it is, as of now, ugly. That they are in a spot right now where the negotiations are either going poorly or potentially not going at all.
So if you're talking and Rich Eisen walks up, do you stop talking or do you keep talking? Knowing that, or is he being fed this stuff? I'm just curious.
I mean, for everything's a work, Zoe.
Because I do believe he did this last year also. And if so, it's a thing, it's a bit, it's whatever. So maybe you want to get something out there, so you say it around someone, or do you go directly to that person and say, "Hey, man, you know what I heard?"
Here's the thing: the Ravens, in my estimation, and I'm not an NFL GM, so I don't have any insight. I don't have any direct knowledge. As Rich said, this is speculation, but that's our job.
I'm not questioning that he heard these things.
Sure,
I'm just curious if he heard them on purpose.
So my thought would be that if this was going to get out, it would come from Lamar's camp, not the Ravens, right? I don't think the Ravens want this out there. I don't think because if you think about it, Lamar Jackson has Ravens fans in his back pocket. Lamar Jackson has NFL fans on his side. There are very few people that are on the Ravens side in this negotiation. So for the news to come out that the Ravens and Lamar are not close with each other effectively says that the Ravens are not doing a good enough job in getting Lamar comfortable with where they stand. Now, there does come a point for a franchise, which I think it's fair to say $250 million guaranteed dollars is probably in this ballpark, where you go, look, we know what you are. We know what you bring to the table. We know what you're capable of. We know your talent level. We got it. But $250 million is a hell of a lot of our salary cap over the next 5 years, right? We're not going to be able to improve much else on the team outside of you. And while you do play the single most important position in the National Football League, we still got to be able to add new defenders alongside Patrick Queen that are more than just rookies on a rookie deal. And when those rooks come up after a 3 or 4 year period, if they are Pro Bowl caliber, we got to be able to extend them to keep the core of the team together, right? We've talked about the Chiefs. The Chiefs strategy has been what? You put most of the eggs into the basket of Mahomes, Kelsey, and 3 or 4 other top-tier players, and then you got to kick ass in the draft. That's all you can do. What was the number, Lonzo? Like 24% of your cap is wrapped up in 5 players? That's an insane number.
They're really good players, though.
Great players. Top tier at their position. Every one of them a top 5 player in their position across the league. But it leaves you reliant on A, drafting really well, and B, coaching up those draft picks. That's an art. Not every team has that. There's a lot of teams that draft very poorly. And a lot of teams that might draft well, but don't have a coaching staff in place that develop talent like Andy Reid has done over the years. So that system cannot work for everybody. And if you're the Ravens, a team that I think is drafted really well, actually, you look at guys like Patrick Queen out of LSU, who became massive players for them this year. They draft well and they develop well, but they're still not in a position where they've got the opportunity to pay Lamar a Deshaun Watson contract, a Russell Wilson contract, and build. They're not built already. The Chiefs are built already and they just roll. You've got to build this. It takes some time. There's no point in signing Lamar, but then not being able to build the team. You got to build the team and then get a Lamar, right? So I don't know how it plays out, but I suspect by 4 o'clock today, we're going to find out that Lamar Jackson has been tagged. And I suspect it's going to be an exclusive tag. Why? Because it pays Lamar top 5 quarterbacks in the league money, which should satiate him to some degree, and create a situation where he doesn't do a Deshaun in Houston and sit out for a year, refuse to play under the contract, just not get paid for a year, and bank on himself getting that quarter bill contract from somebody else next year. The point of all this is it takes another target off the board of the Panthers, right? Because Rashad Beard and I and Lonzo have butted heads over what the correct direction is moving forward.
And we're right and you're wrong.
That's fine. But there is one spot where I know that Rashad and I agree on. Lonzo, I don't know that we've gotten a direct answer about it. And the same position, the only similar position Shad and I have held the whole time is if Lamar's available, you go get him.
You do, but you'll still have to change your offense to fit around his play style.
Willing to do it. Willing to do it. No problem, no question. Absolutely.
Does Lamar fit with Frank Reich, though?
I think
and the kind of quarterbacks that he likes.
I think Frank Reich can fit himself to Lamar, right? Because here's the thing. Every time we talk about
Lamar,
Lamar,
if you are on your second shot as an NFL head coach, don't you want to do things your way to prove it's your way, not have to reshape things to a certain player's way?
I want to do whatever the hell I can do to win. That's it, right? You want to prove what happened in Indy was not a fluke. And yes, there are guys that might fit it. But here's the thing. CJ Stroud, Lonzo, is number 1 on the board, according to some Vegas sites, because of his mobility and his arm strength. That's Lamar. Lamar is an underappreciated
There's a
passer.
difference between mobility and someone who runs a lot, and Stroud does not.
All right. There was about 7 years ago, I had a...
And by the way, if you're a good quarterback and you want to run, go ahead. But you know what it leads to? What it's led to for Lamar? Injuries.
Lamar is a dude that I truly think is viewed as a rushing quarterback, but it might surprise you to some degree how much he runs. He runs Here, let's go back to last year. Last year as a rusher, you want to take a stab? The highest number of rushes in a single game for Lamar Jackson last year. What's that number?
5.
14. 14 rushes.
I always think it's a trick question. I can't help it.
This time it wasn't. 14 rushes. That was against Jacksonville on November 27th, a game which, by the way,
How many passes
they
were thrown?
lost.
How many passes were thrown in that game?
He threw 32 attempts, 16 completed. 50% from the pocket, ran 14 times for 89 yards in that game.
So what? Roughly a fourth of the time he's running the ball.
Give or take. Yep. Now, keep in mind, about 4 of those were designed runs, right? They don't design run. I mean, they do design run for Lamar, but not as often as a lot of people think. He rushed the ball last season. One time against Denver in the season finale, 14 against Jacksonville, 11 against Carolina, 11 against New Orleans, 9 against Tampa, 10 against Cleveland, 7 against the Giants, 12 against Cincinnati, 11 against the Bills and New England, 9 against Miami, 6 against the Jets. So he rushes the ball on average, what? We say 10 times a game is a good average number. 10 times a game Lamar runs. You think about a guy like Joey B. He's rushing 6 to 8 times a game, right? Now, we consider that including escapability, getting out of the pocket, making plays with the legs. Lamar can do that better than Joey B.
He's not going anywhere, though. He's not going anywhere. He's staying in Baltimore.
I agree with you. They're tagging him. I think he's off the board. I think.
You know, and hopefully that happens because then another piece will have fallen as far as what's going to happen in the NFL. So you take him off the board, then you still only have what? Aaron Rodgers?
Yep.
On that level.
Yep. Which, by the way, remember, we played the audio for you back in hour number 1. Rich Eisen said the talk around the league right now is that the Packers really want Rodgers to retire or say, I want out. Because the Packers don't want to be the ones that go, no, we're good, Aaron. You're cut. Have a good life. Good luck in your future endeavors. They don't want to have that look, right? They would rather Aaron Rodgers decide to leave them. But what that says to me, if Rich is accurate here, which again, Rich is not a journalist per se, but he is a guy that has a lot of trust and a lot of sway in the league. I am inclined to some degree believe Rich Eisen at least heard these things. Whether they're true or not, we don't know. But I believe he heard them. And if that's the case, and that gets back to Aaron, and it has any sort of truth to it, you got to assume Aaron Rodgers pulls the plug. I'm done. I'm out. Then the Panthers get to decide, is it worth picking him up and having him for 2 or 3 years tops, and keeping most of your draft capital, or getting rid of your draft capital to get a guy like C.J. Stroud, who is a gamble. The draft, ladies and gentlemen, is a month and 20 days away. Let's take a break. We're back after this. Rob Lonzo, you, the Rob Brown Show's on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Can I propose that the Ray D&Dio group has a group movie outing to see the D&D movie?
Yeah. We were already going to do that probably.
Okay, well,
but
then I'm in.
As a show, we were probably
Well, then
going
I'm
to
in.
do that. Okay.
The show is Ray D&Dio.
Okay. All right.
I saved that design, by the way. I'm totally making a shirt.
I was going to invite you because we were all going. I don't know if Tim will go, but everybody else will go.
He should. He's a Ray D&Dio order now.
Yeah, but he also has other obligations. So.
He's Ray D&Dio
I
talent.
mean, I'd love for Chris to go with us, and maybe he will. But I don't know if you knew this, but he has children. No, his infants is what
he has infants.
He has infants. But he will venture out on occasion and make a way to go out and do some things. So it's in what, 2 weeks? 3 weeks.
I think it's end of the month, right? 31st?
Yeah, it's like 31st. There are 3 movies coming out in the next couple of weeks, and I just don't, including this week, I think Shazam comes out. And then next week, I
still
think.
haven't seen the first one. Is it worth it? From your perspective?
From my perspective, yes.
Okay.
I still don't know how those kids didn't get any older. It's been like 6 years since I looked, but anyway, Then I believe John Wick's next week, and then I believe D&D is a week after. I know, James. It seems like, and maybe it was a decade ago. I don't remember when it came out, but it was. I liked it.
It hasn't been out that long. $2019, dudes.
It seems like a really long time.
The movie's not even 3 years old.
You know what? Because COVID happened in there, and that just makes everything time just weird.
Sorry, not even 4 years old. Math is not my strong point. That's why I'm a words job guy.
I'm here to do the words.
Only feels like it.
In this reporter's opinion, you need a tax expert. Hey guys, Jackson Hewitt guarantees your biggest refund.
And tax prep is 50% off. Going there now.
50% off is a limited time offer for new clients filing at participating locations. Max value $200. Visit jacksonhewitt.com/50 for terms. In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers.
They should be, but you know, if it hasn't been that long, but still.
So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money? Yep, we have one transparent management fee structure, so we do better and our clients do better. Sounds like you really look out for your clients. We do, because our priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. That might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch price. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management. Investments and securities and market risk applies.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more
I just have the feeling we're going to be disappointed with the D&D movie, but you know, we'll see.
I've seen enough that I'm going in with mild optimism. And I'll tell you what kicked me out or kicked me up about it is that they have Chris Pine playing a bard and not the traditional martial hero. And the fact that he is clearly going to be making bard jokes has me all in. I don't mind tropes if they're done funny enough. That's why I love some Scanlan Shorthold. He's every bard trope, but it's so good.
Yeah, he can also sing pretty good, even if it is raunchy.
Rob Brown Show on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate screaming towards the end of the radio broadcast. Do not forget, ladies and gentlemen, that we do have tournament action getting fired up today. We have got Georgia Tech and Florida State in the ACC tipping off at 2 o'clock. Louisville and BC at 4:30 as well. Notre Dame and Virginia Tech tonight at 7. If you're looking outside of the conferences, Gonzaga and St. Mary's at 9 o'clock tonight in what could be an incredible basketball game. There are games happening around the country today as we start off the big conference games. UMass and Richmond already underway. We will have results and the start of our bracketology tomorrow on the show.
And now the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter Trending Topics.
Just want to point out, I got you before the point. because I hit it before you pointed.
Yeah, but I wasn't pointing. I was celebrating because I hit it bang right on the.
I thought I saw a point on the left hand there.
Well, I did the point to the camera.
Okay, all right, because
there he is.
There he is. Because I don't make eye contact. Because who wants to do that? All right, time for Twitter trending topics. Where I tell Rob what is trending, and he tells us why. The first thing that is trending is Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
So 2 rumors came out of Monday Night Raw last night, which I have not watched yet. We'll be watching it later this afternoon. The first is that Vincent Kennedy McMahon was at Monday Night Raw. The second, being reported by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, that Vincent Kennedy McMahon was at Raw last night and rocking a mustache because reasons. The only question I have,
incognito.
Lonzo, the only question I have is, because it's Vincent Kennedy McMahon, did he twirl it up at the end? Was he sitting backstage trying to figure out how to wreck Triple H's show while twirling his handlebar mustache?
Now I see it in my head. I wish you hadn't
do.
done that. But no, if he had a twirling mustache, he would hire someone to twirl it for him. He would not twirl it himself. The question is, was he in Gorilla?
I haven't watched the show, so I can't venture an opinion. I can say I almost expected him to be there because, look, Cena was built by McMahon, right? So, for a celebration of John Cena, it would make sense. And having Cody Rhodes come out to hug Cena, didn't make any sense to me at all.
All right, so you already know the part that bothers me.
Is that what it was?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't understand
that. It was dumb. Which means it might have been McMahon, because it makes no sense. What they're saying is the crowd isn't endorsing Cody enough. And so this crowd is on fire for Cena.
Which was the problem from the beginning with Vince is, you're going to like what I tell you to like, damn it.
But the crowd,
that's a pretty good McMahon,
the crowd was good for Cody because Cody was out earlier. But they're more for Sammy, and that's just how that goes.
All right, so my theory has been floated, and we
but they kind of fix that later. But you haven't seen it.
I have not. We'll do a pod later. My thought has been we're pushing Cody because of where Cody came from. When you had Sammy in the Bloodline, the most important story they've told since WrestleMania 30, right there for your main event.
You know why you're pushing Cody? Because that was probably part of his contract when he came back.
Maybe so.
We were going to give you a push.
You're still over. You could push Cody for SummerSlam and it would be just as good.
Well, we'll see. All right, the next thing is trending is Joe Mixon.
So Joe Mixon is trending because apparently yesterday evening, law enforcement arrived and entered the house of Joe Mixon in response to a shots fired call, and then a small child was removed from the house after the shots fired call. What does it take to get guys like Joe Mixon and Ja
I know you're grouping them together, and I can understand why, but we don't know the details for the Joe Mixon thing. So it could have been
right, but we know the history of Joe Mixon, and he's got way more than just this one incident, right? If you refuse to stay out of at some point, I gotta think you just think that this is a cool image to have, and dude, it's the type of image that gets you killed or gets other people killed and wrecks lives. What are you doing, Joe? Now, we don't know if Joe Mixon was directly involved, but it was in his house.
The last thing that's trending is #Panthers.
All right. Franchise tags get applied today. What ends up happening with Lamar Jackson may, underlined, italicized, bolded, and emphasized, be the last domino we wait before the Carolina Panthers make their move for a QB. Will we have answers tomorrow? We'll find out tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate later, brother. James said, I don't want to think about how 2018 was 5 years ago. James, in September, Rob Brown will celebrate his 20-year reunion of his high school graduation class.
So I graduated in 1986.
I was a year old when Launcher graduated high school. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all are the best. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We sincerely appreciate it.
Except for you, Kevin. Go away, Kevin.
A lovely rest of your day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show. Thanks. Bye.